Welcome. This is the Calexit Congress, a group of mostly Californians and California enthusiasts from mostly America, but also a few people from around the world. We're meeting today for April 18th, broadcast live to 100,000 people across our different distribution networks, Stark Truth TV, Adam KOKESH on Steemit, Yes California on Facebook, Yes California on YouTube, WildStar Network on YouTube, and we really appreciate it. So let's get right into it. Today's show, we're going to have Adam KOKESH. There's Adam KOKESH. Awesome. We're going to have Adam KOKESH speak about the Gardenia Sovereignty Project. We're going to have NICKOLAS WILDSTAR speak about the Daunte Wright shooting in the United States and what that says about the ability to be a minority and display wealth in America. Then we're going to have Robert Stark talk about California nationalist policies we should have. He wrote an essay recently. We'll be showcasing that. Additionally, we have SAM CHANEY talking about the federal government fails to protect California from tech censorship. Additionally, because we're not just about talking about the issues that are important to Californians and talking about what if America is not stable for us in the future, we also are about raising the publicity of the Yes California brand and the fact that it's reasonable to have this conversation now. Frankly, we as Californians should be having a conversation about maybe Calexit isn't the right solution, but what if America becomes increasingly destabilized after January 6th? And we want to raise the profile that it's reasonable for Californians to have this discussion. It's okay, it's acceptable, we can do this. In order to do that, we constantly promote the brand here, Yes California. Sorry, still getting the coffee going in. In order to do that, we have a couple updates on projects we've been working on. One, we have some resolutions that you, the Congress, wrote out, passed through a democratic process, fully transparent, located on the Calexit Congress site, and will be shown on the Yes California site. Additionally, we have courses in independence. We're going to be offering an online certification course coming up. And finally, we have a book that's coming out with us and Liberty Block on how we should secede. So thank you all for coming out. Let's get right into it. Adam KOKESH, are you there?
Yes, give me just a second. Just getting my notes together. If you have something you can cover first and give me a few minutes, that would be great. But I'm ready if you need me to.
I'm just getting the title bar ready. So while Adam's getting ready, I'll just walk you through this. So basically, Adam KOKESH, and we want to thank all of our guests coming out. Mike, Robert Stark. We want to thank the new people, Carlos and Mike, for coming out. We just had 3 more people. There's Carlos. Carlos, could you come on screen real quick if you're willing to? Okay, so Carlos watched the show. He's a Californian. And he goes, can I go? And I said, yes, it's for everybody who's in California. So Carlos, you are a real life Californian, is that right?
Yes, it is.
So, and all you did was say, hey, I'm a Californian and I'm interested in having this conversation. And I said, come on out. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, there you go. All you got to do is be a Californian and say, I'm interested in having this conversation. And we let you in. Am I lying, Carlos? Am I lying? Am I getting this wrong? Is that not what happened? By the way,
you're telling the truth. People watching this, you're free to join.
Thank you, Carlos.
All you got to do is be a Californian.
All right. All right. Now, if you want, you can wear a vest. You don't have to. Just because Carlos is wearing a good-looking vest and I'm wearing a good-looking vest doesn't mean you have to wear a nice-looking vest. NICKOLAS WILDSTAR is wearing a beautiful, excellent, beautiful blue blazer. I love that blazer. He'll be coming on speaking in a second. But let's get right to it. There's a man out there, one man, fighting for freedom. He's a veteran, and he's fought for freedom in American wars. But he didn't necessarily say that American wars were the greatest thing for freedom. Interesting point. In fact, he's carried on the campaign for freedom himself. I'd like to introduce you all to a colleague of mine and a personal friend. I've known this man for years. We've been doing activism for years, and when you do activism with someone for years, you get to know a lot about them. Adam KOKESH, thank you for coming on. Could you tell us about the Gardenia Sovereignty Project? And specifically, this is key. You were a veteran. You did fight for the USA. You have fought for freedom the whole time. You have not always believed that statist solutions were the best way to ensure freedom. And as someone who's been talking to people around the world and studying the concept of freedom on your own for years, and wrote a book, and been on TV, I think the question I'd like for you to answer, if you're willing, while you're speaking to people about the Gardenia Sovereignty Project, why is this the answer to the division and the issues that you've seen? You could have put your money and time and resources into anything, and you didn't. You picked this project as the solution. When, I mean, you know, brother, you wrote a book, you traveled, you met a lot of people, you could have, oh, here's the top 3 solutions, here, and you didn't. You go, it's the Gardenia Sovereignty Project. Why?
Well, Marcus, thanks for that wonderful introduction. And it's been great knowing you over the years and following your activism. And now to have the opportunity to be included in it as part of the Calexit Congress is really cool. I'm very excited to be a supporter of this, even though I'm not in California anymore. But hey, if you were just 10 years ahead of your current timeline and California was independent by now, I never would have left. But yeah, thank you for that. And just to be clear, a big part of my awakening to the reality of government and the reality of authority was getting out of the Marine Corps, having volunteered to go and do a combat tour in Fallujah with the Marines with the Civil Affairs team in 2004. I was there for the first battle. I gotta like be humble. I wasn't there for the big battle of Fallujah the second. I was there for the first one, the siege. And it's been important to admit to myself that I wasn't serving America, as you say, the USA, my country, or freedom, or anything like that. We were serving bankers, politicians, and war profiteers, and that's the reality of the military-industrial complex. So I've been a full-time activist since I got out of the Marines, really November 30, 2007. You know, one of those days you don't forget. And then I was active with the Iraq Veterans Against the War. Got famously arrested for our mock combat patrol through the streets of DC, Operation First Casualty, because the first casualty of war is the truth. And it's been the start of a much bigger, you know, sense of activism for me, or sense of duty, even in, because for me, when I got out of the Marine Corps, it was like, okay, there are people still dying because the American people don't understand the reality of what's going on over there. And they'll listen to me because I wore that silly uniform, and that appeal to authority works for some people. So let me do everything I can to grab people and get them to pay attention to this. I think we won the war of the debate for the global war on terror, and still it continued. And part of my realization was that it wasn't enough to be against that war, or even the global war on terror, but fundamentally militarism itself. And even there, not even militarism, but the idea of what libertarians we like to call statism. Anything that's not libertarian is statism, right? Anything that's saying government is the answer, or coercive authority as we know it today with government is the answer, as opposed to the premise of libertarianism, which is that you own yourself and therefore all human relationships should be free of force and fraud and coercion, or voluntary and peaceful cooperative relationship. And a libertarian says, you know, you can be as liberal or conservative as you want, as long as you don't force your views on anybody else. And to me, that means that the way forward is localization. Take governments apart from the top down, get power where it belongs, at the community level. And a community is fundamentally different from a country or a nation state or the collective victims of any one government today, because a community is something that you choose to be a part of. You can choose to leave. They have to. The community has to earn the trust and respect and consent of every member in that community to stay in that community. A government can just say, oh, screw you, you're our captives, you're our victims, can't leave without paying us off at least, or you don't have a choice, you can't secede, you can't create a community that is independent of this government. And that's why Calexit is so exciting. So, Marcus, thank you for inviting me to this one in particular. I'm on every call, at least listening in. Usually, I'm here very dirty in my construction attire, building stuff. We've got a big cabin project going on. We build geodesic domes. And Marcus, if you can pull it up on StreamYard, it would be really cool to show people our Instagram at the Garden of Freedom. By the way, this morning we just had a litter of kittens delivered. So that's not delivered like by truck, like delivered by mama cat in a bathtub. That's how it happened here. We have 5 beautiful, healthy kittens now as the latest residents of Gardenia, and we're very happy to welcome them. So I'm going to talk for like 5 to 10-ish minutes specifically about the Gardenia Sovereignty Project, how it fits in with Calexit, and then take questions for as long as Marcus wants to moderate. So first, the Gardenia Sovereignty Project. Oh, by the way, I'm adopting 2 puppies, 2 girls. You can see there, their names are Thelma and Louise, just from a local mutt litter, but man, they are gorgeous. One brindle and one chocolate brindle. But anyway, so I was inspired by a lot of different micronations projects to think about this concept of localization in terms of what's possible when government is down at the community level, when it has that flexibility, when government is not this big, institutional control a lot of land, bureaucratic thing that is imposed on people, but when governments are flexible, when they're able to meet the needs of communities as they come and go, and that individuals can opt out and create new communities and new systems, and that we're not held back by institutional momentum that we know serves bankers, politicians, and war profiteers and all of the other special interests behind government. So there's a great website, or I should say page on Wikipedia for micronations. And, this project here in Gardenia, there's some other famous country that declared their independence from an empire. The United States of America, yeah, those guys. They did that back in 1776, right? We're doing the same thing here, but better, learning from their mistakes with a commitment to nonviolence and a peaceful political process. And it's something that, while I think sometimes Marcus is a little over the top with how he says it, the commitment to a legal process or a nonviolent process, at least, that's what we're doing here with the Garden of Freedom, the Gardenia Sovereignty Project. And so we have a video up on my YouTube channel. I'll share it in the notes with everybody. But the basic concept is that on Independence Day, July 4th, well, it as American Independence Day. We're going to be calling it Gardenian Independence Day. It's just a coincidence. I mean, it might be a little awkward. If you're friends with both of us, you're not going to know whose birthday party to go to. That's cool. Trust me, we're going to have better drugs here in Gardenia because there's no drug war. There's no victimless crime laws. That's the premise for a party, right? When we say, no, I'm going to use violence to control your behavior, no, you're not going to have a good time. But there's several different micronations projects that what we're doing here is kind of a synthesis of. And one of them is Sealand. If you go to, just the Marcus had the list of micronations Wikipedia page pulled up. The definition page has a great picture at the top there. But yeah, the list of micronations, I really encourage everybody to check that out. Sealand was a micronation created at an abandoned British sea fort. And basically it was created in international waters and abandoned after the war. And so people said, well, it's unclaimed, useful facility and territory in the open ocean. Well, we're going to live in it now. And they did. And they have been effectively left alone for decades. Then you have some more ambitious projects like Liberland that my friend Vid Yedlik has put together in Europe, where they've already bought a large chunk of land and are negotiating with governments that are adjacent for access. And it's kind of a legal, weird situation that they find themselves in. Then there's Molossia, which was kind of a tongue-in-cheek micronation done in Vegas, or excuse me, in Nevada near Las Vegas, where they're really just making fun and having fun with the idea of what it means to be an independent nation. But, you know, I also really respect the Micronation protest, if you will, that was done in the Florida Keys called the Conch Republic. And they still use this. I mean, you might have heard of the Florida Keys referred to as the Conch Republic. It's because years ago, the Border Patrol set up a checkpoint on the one causeway, the road connecting the Florida Keys to the mainland. And they said, oh, you're going to put up a border checkpoint between us and the mainland? Well, then we declare our independence. We're the Conch Republic, screw you. And they had some kind of protest naval battle and threw rotten vegetables at a U.S. military ship out there. And it worked. So they gave up being, you know, in protest, we are the Conch Republic, and saying now it's just a fun way to sell T-shirts and mugs and celebrate this history. But it worked because the Border Patrol checkpoint was removed. In the case of the Gardenia Sovereignty Project, it's kind of a synthesis of all of these things. You know, with private property, I bought 11 acres here in the mountains of Arizona. It's about an hour west of Flagstaff. Land is pretty cheap out here. And we want to show people the way to do this. So what I did when I was running for the Libertarian Party nomination for president, I thought was the only ethical thing you could do. If you're given the ring of power, you throw the ring in the fire. You're not supposed to put it on. And similarly, the platform that we were running on was the peaceful, orderly, responsible dissolution of the United States federal government. Now, if we could get everybody on board with that, you know, just like that, right, it would be easy. And I think it would be a lot better if we could all take back what's been stolen from us in a peaceful top-down bankruptcy process where the people get back assets and not just rights and privileges and land and resources, but the stuff that's been stolen from us, the monetary resources, in some equitable way. So this is one big downside with Calexit. You know, in negotiating independence from the federal government, you can't say, well, give us 1/50th of our stuff back, you know. Yeah, there's some of that in the process, and I know that what's being worked on will do as much of that as possible. But trust me, the feds are going to try to hold on to as much as they can, right? So even Calexit is sort of a top-down approach compared to what I think is the bottom-up approach of micronations. I think in terms of achieving a free world, a voluntary world, a peaceful world, these are all synergistic efforts and strategies that feed into each other, get people thinking outside the box, thinking creatively when it comes to government. I mean, we're the millennials, right? Send the millennials. The millennial generation. We grew up with the internet. We're coming into power. Why do we have to do things the way they've always been done just because they've always been done that way? Why do we have to accept the premises of prior generations as opposed to taking the good of our inheritance and maximizing it and running with it and saying, well, look, the American experiment was a major leap forward for human freedom. Why? Because we said, screw you to the king. We, look at me, what a collectivist. Screw you, King George. We don't want to be part of your empire anymore. We're independent, right? What's the next step in this? Let's declare our independence from the empire we find ourselves in now. And so I think that taking the federal government apart in localization in a peaceful, orderly bankruptcy process would be a good way to start. Calexit, if that's where the momentum is, I might move back to California, as I said a few weeks ago in my introduction. If this effort, if Calexit is successful, you know, one of the reasons I'm in Arizona is because I don't have to pay California taxes or deal with California regulations in the first place. But starting July 4th this year, we're going to be actually asserting our sovereignty here as a micronation. And I thank you for your time and listening to this. And I will offer, by extension, through Marcus, as vouching for everybody who's on this board of the Calexit Congress, that you're all welcome to come visit us at any time here. We're just a 6-hour drive east of LA. It's a combination of camping, glamping, cabin life, RV life right now as we build up. But we got earth ships, we got geodesic domes, we got all sorts of great stuff happening here. And if anybody wants to get more directly involved, you get my phone number through the WhatsApp chat.
Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Congress. Also, if you're watching on YouTube and you type in the comments, we see them and we can post them. So comment on YouTube. Also, if you're there, go ahead and subscribe and like the channel, tell your friends, or consider joining us. You can email me at marcus.ruiz.evans. But let's get back to Adam. So questions for Adam about, I think what you did was you laid out a really interesting proposition. By the way, we're going to get to NICKOLAS WILDSTAR next.
Yeah, I'm really interested in the idea. I'm interested in the idea of microstates. Adam, can you explain how that fits in specifically with Calexit?
Sure. Well, I think these are synergistic efforts because what Calexit is doing is saying that California represents a community that is distinct from the community of the United States of America as a whole. And if, as a community, California, through a legal, peaceful process, decides, hey, we're going to be independent, we want to assert that right to sovereignty, then similarly, what we're doing with our micronation is that assertion of sovereignty, that relationship with the federal government of we used to be a part of your thing, now we're not anymore. So it's not that it's like directly related. I think these are kind of parallel efforts or sister projects, if you will. But one of the things that I see happening with Calexit is if this effort of the California Congress, if we are successful in convincing a majority of America or Californians that they're better off as Californians than as Americans, as citizens, then taking that leap is an assertion of the same values, the same principles, the right to self-determination. And so I don't want to pretend that like, oh yeah, Gardenia Sovereignty Project and Calexit are going to be working hand in glove or together side by side. No, but I think they're very important as parallel projects. There's a lot of synergy. And in terms of reaching the general public with these core ideas, I know there are a lot of people who go Calexit, and maybe all you see at first is Calexit. California breaks off from the U.S. Things get better for everybody, right? But what I see are much deeper principles inherent to our humanity, to human ethics, to the right of communities, of individual organization, the right to self-determination. And so at least in that sense, I think they're more, parallel synergistic projects rather than partners. Does that answer the question?
Okay. Any other questions on the topic of? I think one of the things that always fascinated me, Adam, is that when you came out to the Unity conference here, yes, NICKOLAS WILDSTAR.
Do I have the mic, or did you want to finish your thought? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Here, let me turn up the volume a little bit. Yeah, just speak up a little bit, NICKOLAS. We can hear you, sir.
I was asking, did you want me to go ahead and ask my question, or did you want to finish your thought because you were speaking?
No, go to your question.
All right.
Marcus always gets the last word anyway, Nick. You know that.
For sure. Well, I do appreciate you, Adam, as far as stepping up to create an example for hopefully the people of California to follow by leading the way with the Gardenia project, because we definitely need more autonomous zones. I think we've gotten more familiar with that, I guess, statement through the recent protests, but we should be looking at every community that way. It's sad that we don't. And the legal authority for us to do so is the Declaration of Independence. It's a legal document. So I promote you for, again, continuing to get that out there. The question that I have for you is this, is because you would be an example of that autonomous zone, do you think that you would also appeal to, those people that have fears about another government being created underneath this one, and a possible situation like, Waco with the Branch Davidians, and, some sort of situation like that? I mean, God forbid. And that's definitely not what we want, but that's also the possibility that we pose by declaring our sovereignty.
Absolutely. No, and you're not the first person to make fun of my last name, KOKESH, for sounding like KOKESH. And the suggestion of being a cult leader out here like David KOKESH of the Branch Davidians. But one of the important things about this project is an absolute commitment to nonviolence. We are demanding sovereignty. We are asserting it. We are standing up. But we will not hurt another human being, even acting on behalf of the United States government as an enforcer, in order to assert that sovereignty, unless it's as a defensive measure. And here I think that even I am even subsuming, in a sense, my assertion of sovereignty to respect for human life and the non-aggression principle, and that I wouldn't use violence or support it in any way if it wasn't an immediate defense of life and limb. And as for the challenge that we face from the feds, from the resistance, he said the Declaration of Independence was a legal document. Not according to King George, it wasn't. And if we face that kind of resistance, I think it's only going to draw more attention to this. I really truly believe that localization of government or decentralization is the future for humanity, not just because of my own personal beliefs, but what I see in the news, what I see following world events with the Scottish independence vote, the Catalonia independence movement, all over the world, similar efforts. And even in the United States, we have our Texas affiliate with Calexit, and you have there's the 51st State Project, there's the state of Jefferson, there's the Vermont independence movement, New Hampshire independence movement, of course, with the Free State Project there. So as for being a test case, I don't mind. It wouldn't be the first time I've put my life on the line for something I believe in. At least this time it's something legitimate and righteous rather than corrupt and warlike and aggressive. By the way, I should say, despite the fact that we just had a litter of kittens here and we had to bring Mama Cat into my bathtub, I am severely allergic to cats, so excuse me for my watery eyes and leaning off camera. But yeah, we just came literally this morning. I woke up to kittens being born, and it was beautiful to be a part of. I'm sorry, Nick. I know that you had some multi parts in that question. Did I cover everything? Yeah. Okay.
For sure, you good. Thank you.
Any other questions for Adam KOKESH on America's being divided? We can see that. Adam and I have been in agreement on that, I think, for years. But we've come to possibly different solutions that we're exploring. But we're recognizing the same issues. Independence through the legal system, or independence on your own terms. Any questions for Adam KOKESH on this, what I think is a profound debate and something that they were really trying to figure out, are they going this way or that way in time? Any other questions for Mr. KOKESH?
Mine isn't a question, it's more of just a statement. The Molossia Independence Nation, I watched a thing, a biographical interview of the guy and what it's all about. Funnily enough, we've talked about California and currency and economically speaking, would it be more sound for California, if independent again, to, move away from the United States American federal military dollar, or would we stay on it? And, currency has played a really big part of the conversation over the years. The dude at Molossia, he uses cookie dough as the currency. Cookie dough, people.
Okay.
They have. Well, no, I know it sounds funny. It sounds like I'm being ridiculous, but hang in there with me for 1 second, please. It proves that what we're doing with currency, what we've thought of, is much more advanced. It's much more modernized than it really even has to be. All it really has to be is something so minimalistic it could be considered kind of farcical and ridiculous. The dude uses cookie dough, but you know what? It is actually his legal currency, and they have it mapped out, and they weigh things. They've got it all, accounted for like currency. So I'm just saying, you know, when we talk currency, just remember this and remember that, you know, it could be that easy.
Okay, Adam KOKESH, thank
Yeah,
you.
I just want to say, yeah, this is I've been a booster of Bitcoin from the beginning and crypto in general and alternative currencies and people like Von Otthaus with the Liberty Dollar who went to jail for challenging the monopoly of the US dollar. And now with crypto, cat's out of the bag, they can't stop it. And one of the cool things about Melosio with the cookie dough is that it's not that that's the future, but it's that it's a demonstration of a concept, a proof of concept that I think Bitcoin and other cryptos just, you know, go way above and beyond. But a big part of the Micronation tradition is just making fun of governments and making fun of the existing authority as a way. And I fully intend to do that here in Gardenia as much as possible. I mean, my
Are you
familiar?
Are you familiar with the one in Nevada? I forget the name off the top of my head, but it's near Reno.
Is it Melosio? I thought Melosio was the one in Nevada.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's
yeah. So my official, technically, we are a proprietarian constitutional, a constitutional proprietarian monarchy. So we're a monarchy, is that I own the property, I'm king. It's proprietarian. It's based on a legit property claim, not just I'm king. I own everything within these lines on the map. And constitutional is in the authority that I claim will be laid out and written clearly and explaining what authority I claim as king on this property. We're also doing, by the way, United Nations of Freedom. It's just like the United Nations, except we actually care about freedom. And so we invite member states who would have that same commitment to be a part of it. But my formal title, I can't even remember the whole thing, is something like King Adam Charles KOKESH I, founder of Gardenia and first leader of the United Nations of Freedom in perpetuity, forever may he reign, blah, 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 blah. So there's this whole like, oh, really? That's your source of authority? Magic words on paper because you wrote that down? Well, we got the same thing here. Your authority isn't special. We're humans. We better get along. And in the, making fun of the government, you get to say, look, well, what is the basis of your authority? Why do you get to tell me what to do? Why do you get to tell other people what to do? Why is it okay when you hurt people? Because you're government? I don't think so. And so there's a great tradition here. And for our strategy for funding Gardenia, our plan is we're going to declare independence on July 4th. July 5th, we declare war on the United States. And on July 6th, we acknowledge that we're a narco-terrorist state and surrender. And then on July 7th, we get billions of dollars in foreign aid. So I think it's a great way to fund a new project as well, to take advantage of the glitches in the matrix of the United States federal government, so to speak.
Okay.
But no, that's not a serious thing. But what we're doing with creating a constitution and asserting sovereignty, and one of the things that we want to do with this is issue driver's licenses and business licenses, registration. So you can say, well, you recognize, a driver's license from Mexico and Canada and the United States. Why not from Gardenia? Why do you recognize an American driver's license or an American passport, but not a Gardenian passport? Oh, because you declared independence and then you wrote more. Well, we're going to write those same words down and we're going to have the same exact authority as you. And we're going to be able to help people escape a lot of the oppression of the United States just by legal documentation and offering people services that way.
Yeah, I think Max Weber, the famous sociologist who invented a lot of our understanding of how societies operate, called it the exclusive use of violence. Namely that he said a government is a organization that everybody says has the right to kill people. That's literally how he defined it. And this goes back to basic sociology, basic understanding of government was, if you look over the history of all humans over the last 10,000 years and all civilizations, and you try to go across all these cultures, it comes down to, yeah, that group of people can go and kill anybody, and we just assume they're doing it to keep law and order, and we don't fight and complain. Now, if anybody not that group kills people, that's a murderer, and we go and murder that person. So he goes, if you're trying to boil a government down to what is a government and what is not, exclusive use of physical violence that's accepted. And it wasn't, they collect taxes, they provide water. He goes, well, there's community services that do that. Humans understand a government is this, exactly what you're saying. Other questions for Mr. KOKESH before we go to our next presentation by Mr. WildStar?
Hey, that's King Adam from now on, Marcus. Or at least just start getting used to. I mean, starting July 4th, it'll be official. Just start getting used to calling me King Adam. Okay?
I'll just make a comment. I know it seems a little tongue in cheek, and I know we have a very serious conversation here at Yes California about independence. And I asked Adam come on because he is providing a very serious conversation. Now he's providing it through what I would call a public display. So he's forcing people to ask questions about what is government and why does government have this power and how come you let them do that? And he's not doing it through an academic debate where he uses all the right terminology. He's doing it through basically what I would call a live performance where
and I'm not waiting for permission.
Yeah, you're getting average folks to jump into this almost theater of the absurd because there's a highly intelligent point that bubbles up with them coming in here where they have to go, well, how come he gets to make his own nation? And how come he gets to do this? And why does that happen? Well, because he said, oh, well, that's ridiculous. She should have it. Now you get it. That's ridiculous. He just said, I have power. Well, that's all government. At some point, someone just said, I'm in charge. We're in charge. Oh, you don't like that? Anybody got a problem? Anyone got a problem? Okay, guess I'm in charge. There was some famous skit, Cedric the Entertainer, and he was talking about George W. Bush and the 2000 elections. And he was saying, you think America's a modern democracy. George W. Bush basically walked in and goes, I'm prez. Oh, is there a problem? Is there a problem? I'll get my dad, I'll get my hookups, I'll get my friends. So it was basically, he just walked around and bullied and threatened the entire system until everyone backed down. And he goes, I'm president. Well, that's how kings are made. And it was legal and it happened in 2000. So don't think America's above the absurdity that Mr. KOKESH is highlighting. One more question for Mr. KOKESH, and we're going to go to...
One quick response to that, Marcus. There are some comedic elements to this that are intended to point out the absurdity of government. But this is extremely serious. And what we're doing here is taking charge of this property, this land, and saying, this is sovereign land. This is no longer part of the United States of America. And I hope that what we can do, even though what I'm doing is micro, you know, on 10 acres, we might be expanding into some neighboring properties here soon, by invasion and conquest in the great American tradition, actually. We figured if the American federal government has any authority over California, then the way we get authority over our neighbors is by murdering them into submission, right? No, obviously we're not doing that. I'm talking about buying more land around us and growing the project that way. But what I hope to really do with this is create a precedent and pave the way for other communities to break away. There are already great examples of this. So just providing one more example of how to navigate the legal system to assert sovereignty as a micronation today in the United States, I think has some really amazing potential for what comes after it. Even if it's just individual property owners being able to say, sorry, feds, your laws don't apply here because we say so.
I love it. And we'll move on, but just one last comment. I have to nerd this up. Bridget Coggins is one of the top professors on the topic of how nations are made. Basically, it's called the concept of recognition. You don't get to be a nation unless other recognized nations say, we recognize you. International recognition is the key to becoming a nation. She's a professor here out of the University of California, and she's one of the preeminent scholars on foreign policy on this topic of who gets to be a nation legally. And she walks you through the process from the 1800s and medieval ages and up to the UN. And here's all these formal rules on who gets recognized. And then at the end of the book, she concludes with saying, none of that matters. Yeah, there's international law, but basically might makes right. America, Russia, China do whatever they want. So it really just comes down to, I recognize you. Anybody got a problem with that? Anyone got a problem with that? No? Okay. New Nation. And this is Professor Bridget Coggins, and I cartoon it a little bit so that the lay people can understand. Yes, there's a huge aspect of international law. And then when scholars look into it, it turns into might makes right, I said. Bridget Coggins. It's called The Recognition of Nations. She's the preeminent scholar, and she's routinely referenced, and she's backing up everything you're saying. Thank you, Mr. Adam KOKESH, for coming out and speaking with us today. Nothing but love. And thank you for being part of the Calexit Congress. Yeah.
Thank you again, Marcus. Just a couple super quick things to wrap up about that might makes right thing. It's what you can convince the enforcement class of your government to commit as a crime, doing violence against peaceful people, whether it's cops or soldiers or other violent agents of the state. And what we are doing with Calexit, with all of the related freedom movements in the world today, is challenging that and making people question that and putting that right up in their faces and saying, what is the nature of this authority? Are you really willing to use violence against peaceful people to serve your government? Are your ethics really for sale? And second, I'm going to tempt everybody with kittens here. We don't have any pictures up yet, we will have pictures of the newborn kittens up by the end of the day on our Instagram. That's the best way to see what's going on here, at the Garden of Freedom on Instagram. And please, if you want to get involved with this or you have follow-up questions, anybody email me at that email down there, adam@thefreedomline.com. Or if you're one of the Calexit Congress members, please get my number from the WhatsApp group and text me anytime, day or night.
You can also contact Marcus and everybody. Real quick, Sam Chaney, I see that you're trying to get in. I'm going to get you in a second. Give us a second. We'll have you on in a second, Sam. I think there was one last comment for Mr. KOKESH. Okay. Adam, thanks for coming out, brother. I really appreciate it. And thank you for serving. And thank you, more importantly, for serving the rest of us. So, Adam KOKESH. Adam, I'm going to kick you to the back stream. You can go to YouTube and watch. Yep. I'm sorry. Okay, NICKOLAS WILDSTAR is our next guest. So we're having presentations today. We just finished by Adam KOKESH. We're having one by NICKOLAS WILDSTAR and Daunte Wright. Then we'll have one by Robert Stark on California nationalist policies and Sam Chaney. Finally, we'll get to discussions about a new book, a new course, and resolutions coming. All right, thank you. Let's go to NICKOLAS WILDSTAR. What happened in America recently, and what does it say about America? I think I was over at your house a few days ago on your show. Always have a great time. And you were asking me, hey, did you hear about the latest shooting of a young minority male? And I had to admit live on television that I didn't. And my excuse was, I can't keep up. I was just getting over and absorbing the Daunte, and then here's another one, and here's another one, and here's another one. I know there's a couple ones you wanted to cover, but you had pointed out to me something about the Daunte Wright situation that was particularly troubling, which was that here was an African-American young man, and his crime was driving in a nice car. That was the only reason they picked him up, was he was a male African-American youth, and he was in a nice vehicle. And if it wasn't for that, they never even would have bothered to stop him. And whatever somebody wants to say, it resulted in his death. But why was he even bothered? And what does that say about justice in America, even under Biden? NICKOLAS WILDSTAR.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you for that introduction, Marcus. And I kind of just wanted to pick up on this because the people of California need to realize that these national tragedies of police brutality are extremely disruptive to the peace of the people of our state. I mean, when we talk about instability, the killing of George Floyd created protests and riots all over the world. And the killing of Daunte Wright recently has pretty much done exactly the same thing. There were recently reports of vandalism and property being damaged by protesters out in Oakland over this, as well as other parts of the state. So when we talk about the security and the safety of the people of California, and what the federal government does to threaten that, you can look at social justice issues and take that into account as well. So also, when we, of course, want to create an environment that's going to be more inclusive of all people of all walks of life, and of course, all different ethnicities. Here in California, we have a big melting pot. So we have a criminal justice system, a law system, and policing in general, or more in particular, I would say, that is built on white supremacy. And I have something that I wanted to share to kind of back up my claims, if I may, Marcus.
Yep.
All right. So here's a Time article. I can share it with the group if you like, but here's a Time magazine article where they talk about how the U.S. police got its, how it came to start and its origins. I can share it with you guys so you can look it up, but it basically stems from slave patrols, where, you know, the police officers, white men, were sent out to go and retrieve slaves that had ran away from their masters during the slave period in our country. So this is something that still happens to this day. And the reason why I'll bring up that is because of the laws that we have that came from that. In this particular case with the killing of Daunte Wright, he was pulled over originally because he had a air freshener hanging from his rear view mirror. And this is a very nice car in the neighborhood where I guess it's not supposed to be in. And this is in the same city where George Floyd was killed. So right now, Derek Chauvin, the police officer on trial for killing Mr. Floyd, is currently happening. So the city is already on edge, and he was pulled over because, again, his air freshener. The car is brand new. His mother purchased it for him. The tags are good. And according to the police report, he was pulled over because he had expired tags, which is untrue. It was mainly because of the air freshener. When they ran his driver's license, they ended up finding out that he had a warrant out for his arrest, which is very common in this country where Black men, people of color are pulled over and asked for their identification to see if they have warrants. You have the right to say no. Any attorney will tell you that you have the legal right to tell a police officer that you do not want to provide them your identification. But if you don't, it comes with the threat of force, etc. So he did, and he ended up being arrested. Now, why he chose to run for whatever reason, we don't know. That's still, up for discussion, of course, but the police officer has a duty to the community, and that is to provide a service, which is to protect the people of the community. The police officer in question, she pulled her service weapon, which you can see here where she shot a man. She claimed to have wanted to pull her taser. She's a 26-year veteran on the police department. She's also she's also a trainer. So she actually trains other officers. So the service weapon is on your shooting hand, and the taser, which you can see here on the left, is on your opposite side. So you have to reach across your belt to pull your taser, which of course isn't going to kill a person. This one will kill a person, your gun. She drew her gun, as you can see in this picture, and she shot him and killed him and claimed it was an accident, killing this young man who is pictured here with his 1-year-old son. So this again has caused a lot of disruption and upset in the community, and lots of protests here in the state because of it. And most recently, here's a picture of that belt. Most recently, another killing of this young kid, a kid by the name of Adam Toledo, 13-year-old kid out in Chicago. Mr. Toledo was running with a gun and was told by a police officer to stop. He did, and as you can see in this picture, he put his hands up, and in a split second was shot and killed by the police officer. Even though a lot of people may say that the officer was valid in shooting this young man, he did comply with the police officer. He said, stop and put your hands up, which he did. Within that split second, the officer then shot and killed the young man. He didn't give him time to surrender or to view him to see if he had been unarmed and if he had been trained properly in weapons, in using his weapon. He would have noticed that in chasing him and pursuing him, the kid did drop the gun or toss the gun. And when he told him to stop and put up his hands, he did, obviously in this picture. So police officers should be following their training and be able to respond in those split second moments, or else they shouldn't be on the police force. And a lot of police officers have come out to say this as well. The one striking thing about this is it's caused this kind of response in the community where you have people saying that if you don't comply with police officers, then you should know better. It's going to lead to your death or your harm. This is extremely unfortunate because it's conditioning us as a community to be accepting of a death sentence of people that are meant to, again, protect us. And we're getting to the point where it's causing more instability here in our country, and the list of people killed by police officers is growing, and it's causing extreme civil unrest. That's why I'm asking the people of Yes California and this Calexit Congress to consider forming a coalition to go out and start protesting and rallying against our government to push for, independence now, opposed to waiting, later on down the line. So it's pretty much all I wanted to share for now.
Well, that's excellent. Does anyone have any questions for NICKOLAS WILDSTAR about the situation with injustice in modern America? Yes.
Me.
Carlos.
It's more like adding on to this. Like, I agree with NICKOLAS. Like, police need to be better trained. If not, like, if other police officers are saying this officer is badly trained and there's something wrong, I agree that we do need a police reform. Because a bunch of these cops are badly trained.
I mean, yeah, you got kids playing video games that are able to respond in a quicker, response time than some of these police officers are displaying in real life situations. So it's sad that, you have gamers that are expressing that type of skill level where we're supposedly hiring professionals to go out there, provide protective services to the community, and failing at that duty. Their job is customer service, first and foremost. Any public official, no matter it's law enforcement, a politician, a firefighter, or a garbage man, or whatever the case may be, they work in public service when they work for we the people. So if they're not providing a great level of customer service, then it's up to us to hold them accountable and hold them responsible for their failures. And we can fire them. It's that simple. Doing it right now with the recall of Gruesome Newsom. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to remove there we go. Thank you, Carlos. We're working as a people to respond and be direct directly involved in the changes in our community that we demand. We just need to know the steps that we need to take to bring that to fruition.
Okay. By the way, NICKOLAS WILDSTAR is the only registered candidate here in California who's publicly came out for Calexit. And he is, I think, the only registered African-American man running for governor, and California has never had an African-American governor, something to be ashamed of, even though I love California. Any other questions on this topic before we get to Robert Stark, and then we're going to get to Sam Chaney, and then we'll get to some issues with Congress. Okay, we're going to thank you, NICKOLAS WILDSTAR. You can always check him out, WILDSTAR for Liberty, NICKOLAS WILDSTAR, WILDSTAR for Governor, or you can type in recall candidates. Nick, if you want to type in your email in the comments, I'll post that up on the banner for you.
Sure. Just visit my website, wildstar2022.com. You can send me a message through the contact box there on my website anytime. wildstar2022.com.
Is that right? Oh, nope, that is not right.
Something like that. It is going to be a wild start when I get started.
Is that more correct? Wildstar2022.com. That's what you were saying?
Correct.
Okay. All right. And that's NICKOLAS WILDSTAR. He is a Calexit Congress member. You can too. So right on the screen above NICKOLAS is another Californian called Carlos. And I just met Carlos the other day and I said, hey, are you Californian? And Carlos said, yeah. And I go, do you think America's completely stable and there's nothing to worry about? And he goes, no. And I go, do you think it's okay for people to have a conversation about the future and options? And hey, I see things destabilize. Maybe we have to go along. Is it wrong for us to talk about that? And Carlos was like, no. So thanks for joining, Carlos. You're exactly why we do this.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right.
And Carlos, you're a young buck too. Tell him what's your age, man.
I'm 18. I just turned 18 in December 18.
Woo!
I'm probably the youngest Calexit congressman right now.
All right. Welcome to the club.
Thank you.
That's really awesome. Let me get some of these comments here up. We're going to have a presentation by Robert Stark and then Sam for the next about 20 minutes. We're about 20 minutes behind, but then we're going to get into some very important things with the courses we're planning and a book. But let's go to Robert Stark right now, and then we'll get to Sam Chaney. This is the Calexit Congress for September 18th. Here's a review of the agenda. So, Robert, if you could post in the...
Yeah, I got it right here. I'll post it in chat.
Yeah, thanks. So Robert Stark wrote an essay. He is a journalist, Stark Truth TV. We'll show that here in a second. And he wrote an article about if California really was going to be a nation.
So I guess I'll clarify the context of this essay. So this is my first article on Substack, and I plan to write a long series, put out like a column like at least every other week. Focusing specifically on California issues. So the context is not specifically a Calexit article, but what I do talk about is I do touch upon the recall and how basically the Democratic Party, as well as the California GOP, which just offers token opposition, they're basically they both neglect California issues, and how there needs to be a political paradigm that addresses specifically California issues, but it's not affiliated with any specific organization or campaign. But I do touch upon Calexit and whether Calexit happens or under the current framework, California nationalism as an ideology. And so this is just a hypothetical platform put out that could be associated with California nationalism and lots of different issues like a state UBI, state bank, jobs programs, business, arts, media, race relations, criminal justice reform. So just a long list of issues within the context of a platform that is thinking about tailoring it specifically to the needs of Californians, because right now we basically are California issues are neglected, and there's the example the California Democratic Party. They're mostly just a vehicle for fundraising, and they'll tell people like they'll tell the citizens of California we have to donate to the California Democratic Party in order so we can win the Senate race in Georgia, for instance. But there's a total neglect of California issues. I remember, I think both Biden and Hillary, like, did they even bother campaigning in California other than going to like elite fundraisers?
No.
Not at all. So yeah, we need a new political framework that is focused on California issues. So in the platform, this is purely hypothetical, but thinking about a platform like addressing specific needs of Californians, and obviously California is extremely diverse. So there's going to be different groups, many different people, different niches, different needs. But under now, like, California has been completely neglected by the red versus blue dichotomy in the two-party system, and there needs to be a new framework.
Okay, questions for Robert Stark. So let me just ask real quick, what prompted you to do this? So you're saying, I think when I looked at the essay, that you don't feel any of the existing parties are really focused on California issues enough. And you were almost suggesting these are policies that any political party or a new political party should form. And what I found interesting was that you weren't saying, oh, they have to pursue secession. It's just they're not pro-California enough. A lot of these policies.
Yeah, I didn't say the article's not specifically pro-secession, and even the section on Calexit, I kept it a bit open-ended. I just said Calexit needs to be an insurance policy. That's how I worded it, which may be a bit too tepid for many, but I just said it needs to be discussed because the current system is failing Californians.
Okay, any questions for Robert Stark on this essay or on the concept of political parties in California do not push California nationalist perspective enough? Anyone at all? Any comments? Okay, Robert, I'm going to kick it back to you. Closing comments on this. I'm going to post up the essay.
Yeah, I don't have...
And I would encourage.
Yeah, I'll encourage everyone to read over the platform and the detailed positions. And obviously, it's a unity platform, so it's across. It includes, obviously, not everyone's going to agree about it. It has some things for everyone, but obviously, everyone's going to find something they might disagree with. So it's a unity fusion platform. And I encourage everyone to read it. And also, if you subscribe to my Substack, I plan on a future series on California issues and California nationalism.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to go to the next presenter here. We're about 4 minutes behind, not too bad. We'll be getting to important issues such as the book coming out, the courses coming out, the resolutions you approved and posting it, and a lot of other great things. Also, I wanted to show you about a guy with 650,000 followers on Twitter who's a Californian, and this week said, America's probably not going to work out. We'll probably have to have a separation. By the way, that man retweeted a tweet by Yes California. So he's aware of us and promoted us to 650,000 Californians just this week.
Can you post the tweet in the chat? I screen share just link to the account.
Oh, yeah, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that in just a second. Hold on. I want to get to our speakers. So we have a lot of speakers here. We have a lot of people here in the Congress. It's very much about having a variety of different vantage points. We have some Trump voters. We have many non-Trump voters. We have libertarians. We have Democrats. We have liberals. We have pro-tax. We have anti-tax. What we have is Californians. We have people from a variety of perspectives, because all you have to do is believe that I love this place even with all its flaws. And I would rather have a plan to be able to survive here than just hope for the best and throw my arms up in the air the next crisis that comes. So yes, exactly like that. We need to stop doing that as Californians. I'm getting sick and tired of it, even though I love this place. We really do that. It's too much. We're a little bit too snowflakey. I love us, but we don't have to do that. As my father taught me, if you make a list and you plan ahead, then a crisis never happens. Well, Dad, what if it rains? What if you brought everything with you you needed? There's no such thing as a crisis when you plan ahead. Thanks, Dad. Okay, Sam Chaney, you were talking about how we here in California have to rely on the federal government, have to do what they say. And the federal government says, well, we protect you for your rights. I think we had a discussion about Max Weber and the role of governments earlier on with Mr. KOKESH. But you were talking about how Californians perhaps have misplaced their trust in the federal government, namely that the federal government should be protecting them from technology censorship of one of the most pivotal democratic rights enshrined in the Bill of Rights. And yet the federal government hasn't been protecting it. Now, many of these companies may come from California, but we don't have the ability to regulate communications. Only the federal authorities do. And they've chosen to not do their job. Is that right, Sam? Could you walk us through what you're talking about?
Well, we have these. We have to speak in code now, or else you get censored here on these platforms. That YouTube. Yeah, the federal government has failed to enforce the Sherman Antitrust Act and also the Clayton Antitrust Act, and there's other laws. Those are the two big ones, because you have Alphabet, the platform we're on now, YouTube, and Facebook control 90% or more of advertising on the internet. Okay, so these are oligopoly companies practicing monopolistic business practices, discriminating against myself and many others as Californians here. And we rely on the federal government, the Department of Justice, the Federal Trade Commission to enforce those trade laws, and they're not. Okay, so they're allowing these companies to suppress free speech, totally disregard our First Amendment. And the argument is, well, they're private companies, they can do what they want. But that doesn't apply when you have a monopoly or an oligopoly controlling the market now, okay? And so that destroys that argument that they're private companies and they can do whatever they want. They're monopolies, okay? And we see, and you wanted to go over some examples. There's many examples, but one of the most striking ones for your audience here, Marcus, is that the censorship of the Hunter Biden laptop story on all social media platforms right before the election. And if your audience didn't know, the New York Post published an article exposing this laptop that Hunter Biden, the son of the president, had a bunch of very bad things on it. Very bad things on this laptop, because the guy is not a very good guy, and he can go out there and run PR campaigns all over the mainstream media. But the fact of the matter is, the guy did a lot of bad stuff. The evidence is on a laptop. New York Post published that article. It got censored all over the internet. And so your more, quote, liberal-minded media consumers may not even know that this story even existed. Okay, and that could have, and we saw, I forget the exact statistics, but they did a couple polls and they asked Democrat voters, would this have changed your vote if you would have known about this before the election? And I forget the exact percentage, but a fair amount said it would have. And so we see that the tech censorship is influencing national elections now, because the liberal audience and some even conservative audience, just the general public, is not privy to the information that they should be privy to make informed decisions with their voting power, if you even believe that we have any voting power. But that's just one example. And we see recent, and then look, myself, little Sam Chaney, on Weaponized News. I had 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. I've been demonetized 5-6 years ago on YouTube, right? I'm constantly on 2 strikes because they don't want to, because I have to speak the truth, or why even do my show? Okay. And just recently, this last week, I got a breakup letter from Google for my website, Weaponized News, saying they will no longer, Google AdSense, for those not familiar, is the advertising service that Google offers. Like when you're searching for razors or whatever on the internet, and then you go to a website and you see that razors ad, right? Is how it works. But I got a breakup email from Google telling me they will no longer serve their advertising on my website, weaponizednews.com. So therefore, because of dangerous and derogatory content, I challenge everybody, go to my website, take a look at it, and you be the judge for yourself. Am I presenting dangerous and derogatory content? And so therefore, now I have to pay my my website designer. I have to go put in a bunch of more resources to figure out how I'm going to serve advertising on my website. Okay, but it's not about me. It's about the information and the truth getting out there. It's about, if we just look at yesterday, okay, there's a video of James O'Keefe from Project Veritas, undercover video where he has the CNN producer admitting that they're propagandizing the American people about the plague. You know, you gotta be careful about the words you use now. And so he just got suspended. James O'Keefe just got suspended from Twitter for posting this and trying to show, hey, here's video of a CNN producer admitting that they're propagandizing the American people using fear-based mind control program. All right. And we just go on and on down the list. They censored Alex Jones a long time ago off the internet, all social media. And you can see a coordinated effort. That means they're working together as a monopoly when you're censored off all platforms at the same time. I mean, it's getting ridiculous. And we get no justice out of the Justice Department. Okay. And that's who should be enforcing these antitrust laws that are on the books. And so that's the point I wanted to make with you here today, Marcus, and not cry that I'm being censored or that that other news is censored. The point is the federal government is not doing their job to secure our First Amendment rights.
First
Yes.
Amendment, Second Amendment, Sixth Amendment, Ninth Amendment. We could keep going on.
So therefore, they failed. They failed to execute their duties and are no longer credible. It's all political. They don't care about our rights, and it's more than obvious now.
It just reminds me that something most people don't know is that, so, you know, here in liberal California, most of us don't like Trump. And we're like, well, that's great that he got banned and he shouldn't be there. He shouldn't be talking. And maybe there is some immediate benefits to that. However, I would like to point out that here is an article showing that while some of us progressives thought that was a good idea, it turns out that most of the progressive world did not. In fact, hardcore anti-Trump pro-European countries like France and Germany said, oh my God, America, the way you're blocking Donald Trump from his Twitter account resembles Eastern Germany under Soviet occupation and the Soviet system itself. That's Germany and France. Those aren't Fox News loving countries. They were not pro countries. They were very liberal countries with big liberal ideas, lots of socialism, lots of liberal ideas, lots of hating on Trump. And they said, you scared us, American liberals. You, American liberals, scared us, liberal European countries, the way you blocked and banned Trump. It looks
Marcus, that was the elephant in the room. I didn't even talk about Trump. Love him, hate him. Hey, the president of the United States got censored off of all the internet, basically. That should send a chill down your spine, okay? You could hate the guy all day, but if they could do it to him, then they can do it to anyone for anything.
That's what Merkel said. And I would remind you that Angela Merkel grew up in Eastern Germany. So Angela Merkel knows what it's like to live in a government under Soviet occupation. She literally lived through it. And she's saying, wow, America, what you're doing to Trump resembles the horror that I escaped as a young girl. So I'm going to try to bring Jason Wright into this discussion. Uh,
I would like to add on to this.
yeah, please. Carlos, what do you think, brother? What's going on?
This makes me mad. Like they're trying to take all our amendments away, first, second, and all that. Like not being censorship goes against your First Amendment right, and it doesn't matter who it is. Nobody should be censorship off social media.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Jason?
the argument is that private companies, they can censor anybody they want, but then you can't be a monopoly and say we live in a free market capitalist system, because we don't. Okay? They're oligopolies doing illegal monopolistic business practices. Okay, is the bottom line, and we have the laws on the books. It's just the federal government refuses to enforce them.
Well, not only that, but it's been a lot of conspiring and cronyism that's put us in this situation, we the people, which is why it's actually pretty good that this is all happening, and because it's opening people's eyes to see that our media has been monopolized. And
corporate media, it's corporate media. That's what everything coming out of that television is, corporate media. I don't care left, right, or center. Okay, and we got independent voices on the internet trying to tell you an alternative narrative to what that television's telling you, and they censor the heck out of it. Okay,
exactly. But the
censorship kills. Okay, censorship has killed people now.
It's what is it? Louis Farrakhan. He was censored before that. Alex Jones. I've been kicked off of platforms before. It's sad that people don't even know that in order for you to have a Facebook account, you have to provide an ID, a government ID. And if you haven't, that's probably because they haven't scrutinized your account enough to where they felt like it was necessary. But it's happened to me before, and that's why my account is still up to this day, is because I had to kind of petition, because they deplatformed me. They suspended my account for over a year because I refused to provide it. So yeah, it's crazy, because that's how it's become, is us as a public are responding to them and on their platforms to connect with each other and to possibly listen to each other. But when they prevent us that opportunity, then it becomes apparent that, hey, someone's in control in this situation, and it's not us. So we need to start coming together as a community, realize that they don't have our best interests at heart. And like you said, our law system is playing a part in that role, which is even promotes the message of Calexit even more, which is why we should be looking for California independence more now than ever. And that's just my 2 cents on it, Sam. Thank you.
Well, think about this. Everybody needs to come to the realization that you go on these platforms and it looks like a free service, but the actual product is you. It's your data. Okay. Exactly. So you can go on there all day and show your lunch and show your family on all these different platforms and connect with your friends and family. But at the end of the day, the product is you. They're selling your data. You have no privacy. And then when you step out of line with the official narrative pushed by the mainstream media and the federal government, then they totally shut you off. And now they're getting into your pocket if you're trying to run some kind of business through these platforms and you're trying to make some money, monetize your content. Now they're blocking you from doing business.
Let's go to Jason Wright. Jason, you had a comment?
Yeah, I've got a few quick comments. First, I would like to say I'm of the opinion, I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, pretty much all of the platforms. I never really had a problem with, seeing Trump tweets, right? Even as a Bernard Sanders supporter. Not that I'm saying I liked seeing them, but I never had the issue of having to be inundated by President Trump tweets, because Twitter has this block and mute feature where if you don't want to hear something that someone else is saying, you don't want to hear from them at all, you block them, you mute them. Even if other people are sharing what they say, what they tweet out, guess what, folks? You don't have to be subject to it. So there really is no legitimate reason for the censorship. That one point being stated, I would like to also continue that this censorship is very obviously selective. If I was to run for president of the United States, would I be afforded any sort of special censorial treatment where, you know, anything I may have done in the past that doesn't make me look so good just gets, you know, redacted, blacklisted, wiped out from the internet, you know? No, because I'm not part of the establishment. I'm not propped up by the establishment. So it says very clearly, one, the guy they didn't like, that they wanted out, they actively censored and blocked and removed. The guy that they liked, that they wanted in, they made dang sure to not let anything bad come out, at least nothing bad enough that it would cost that man the election. This right here says very clearly to us, all of the American people, all around the world, even, you know, folks who are active military, serving on military bases around the world, they vote too. And they need to know this too, because they are serving America while America is manipulating them, using them, manipulating all of us, using all of us to serve their purposes, because they want this guy in so that they can get more business in these sectors and do these sorts of, you know, horrific policies. And really, I fully agree. If we do not Calexit soon, there may not be a chance, because the way that the United States is going is very fascist. It doesn't matter if it's red or blue. The red side is a bunch of fascists. And you know what? The blue side is a bunch of fascists. Both of them, people, we need to wake up. We need to start thinking about California and the 40 million Californians and what we can do to save ourselves before it's too late.
Hot.
Bravo.
And let me throw in real quick. I interviewed that guy, Louis Marinelli, about 6 months ago, and he told me that he's over there in Russia. It's more free than we are here now in California.
Louis, you were called out. You wanna come in, and we're gonna get right to updates with Congress here in about 2 minutes. Bear with us, but we want to finish up this conversation on tech censorship. Louis Marinelli, they referenced you, sir.
And I was being good. I was being good.
We love it when you behave. We love it. But we also
I was behaving myself. And
So what do you think about all this coming from, looking at it from Russia? All this stuff we're saying about America and California. What is that? What is your perspective, sir?
censorship.
Jason was just talking about left and right, blue and red, all fascists. That's true, but California is full of them too. So separating California from the United States doesn't all of a sudden make Californians these benign, non-fascist people. The country of California is going to be just as blue fascist as the red country of the United States when we leave it. So I don't think that necessarily fixes the fascist problem. This idea that California secedes and everyone just becomes these benign people again. But I support the idea. Obviously, that's why I'm here. That's why we've been here with Marcus for years. But Californians, to extend the logic that I agree with from Jason, that the blue side are fascists too, then what you're doing is creating a country dominated by the blue fascists. I mean, there's like no counterbalance to that, because California is so heavily blue that it's going to go off the deep end, even more than the country itself in the United States. So it might be, in that perspective, making things worse for yourself, because at least in the United States you have some kind of a shift in power from one side to the other side every 4 or 8 years, but you don't have that in California. California is a one-party state, and if you have, as Jason was saying, that party is fascist, and you separate them from the United States, it's just going to be a fascist blue state. So I don't think that that's going to change anything. I don't necessarily agree with calling people fascists. Actually, I don't think that Trump was a fascist either, because that's not a technical definition of what a fascist is. And, so I don't like using that word, but just for the sake of the argument, I would say that, separating California from the United States doesn't actually fix those problems. You're just going to have a highly concentrated version of it, of the left side fascism in California. That goes to speak with everything you were talking before about the things that Marcus is disappointed in with California. He was talking earlier about things that he's disappointed about California being, called some snowflakes or something like that. So,
I said that with love. Yeah.
Answer the question though. I mean, I like to watch from afar. I like my bleacher seats. And Mr. KOKESH was talking about before, I support his campaign because his campaign is focused upon the dissolution of the union, I guess. And that's what my, biggest issue that I care about mostly is the peaceful dissolution of the union. I think that the slogan is that we've not really taken up, what I use is the dissolution is the solution. And because if we can separate from the United States, that's a step in the right direction for the people of California. But the whole country is under the same quote unquote fascist system, whether it's Democratic or Republican leaders in Congress or in the White House. And so to separate California is only one step in that direction. But if the whole federal system were to come down peacefully, then that would allow for local control of local resources, local governing. And that then allows, whether you're conservative or liberal, to govern yourselves according to the people in your how the people in the community feel about different issues. And you don't have to have the people in the Central Valley who are outnumbered by the people on the coast unhappy about their government, because they can be governed by themselves according to their conservative values. And the people in the Bay Area can do what they want to do. So I think that that's my position. I like to watch from afar because I can stay out of it. And I can just live my life. It's part of the reasons why I moved to Russia, was to kind of get out of all of that political things, because it's something that I find difficult to ignore when I'm in America. I watch it every day on the news, see what's happening, and I get agitated and want to go out and do something. And then I look in the mirror, and I've gone 5 years, and I've been busy arguing about politics my whole life. So I live a happy life here in Russia, mostly outside of the political sphere. But I do like to help Marcus with what he's doing here, and that's why I'm here today, because I think that we're going to be eventually talking about a book and about our courses, right?
Yeah, we're going to get to that right after this. So in about 2 minutes. Thank you for being
You agree it is a fascist duopoly, especially when they're the ones pulling the strings here in California from afar.
Well, it's one party in California, and they're even talking. I've seen the stories in the news in California about the recall, and they're floating the idea of putting a Democrat on the ticket just in case the recall question passes and Newsom is recalled. They say they need to quote unquote protect the Democratic governorship.
Exactly.
That's what the idea was behind putting the there's a lot of resistance into that idea, because people think that by putting the Democratic candidate on the ballot, it kind of legitimizes the recall itself, allowing people to vote for the recall if they can then vote for a Democratic replacement. So there's resistance to that, because they want people to vote against the recall on the first question. Is this not recalled outright? So the idea that the Democrats are thinking, there's that mayor of Los Angeles, I won't even try to say his last name, but the late mayor of Los Angeles or whatever, he's a potential candidate. What is it?
Villaraigosa.
Okay.
Villaraigosa.
Okay. I got you. I believe you. So, but anyway, the idea is that they shouldn't be trying to protect the Democratic governorship. They should be trying to put candidates in there, or allow candidates in there to have a free election and an open election, and not have it be counterbalanced by them trying to quote unquote protect the Democratic governorship. So I don't support that. So
I completely agree with you on that.
and it's a problem that they created themselves when they created that rule. I mean, they created that rule where you vote for the recall, and then a person who, if the recall passes, a person who doesn't have a majority can actually become governor. That's how Schwarzenegger became governor, and that's how I'm sure that Faulconer from the Republican side is hoping to become governor.
Right.
They are Democrat. The Democrats have been in control since at least the 80s. They created this system, and now they don't like it. Well, that's just a testament to the fact that they don't like the things that they do themselves. And any other problems that you have in the state of California exist. Why? Because of the Republican state legislature? Because of the Republican state Senate? Because of
you even have
Arnold Schwarzenegger, who wasn't really a Republican anyway? I mean, those are problems created by the Democratic Party, and I'm flabbergasted that Californians don't see that. And I can understand it hasn't been like 10 years. It hasn't been 20 years. It's been more than 20 years. And so you have to ask yourself, what did Einstein say about doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results? That you must be insane. And so I don't know. I mean, I understand that the last Republican governor, what was it, Pete Wilson, maybe? I mean, he did some pretty bad things when it comes to race relations and with immigrants and things of that nature. But I think it's time for the people of California to get over it and consider different types of leadership, because everybody basically can agree on one point, that things are not going in the right way or the right direction. And well, who's in control who's steering the ship for 30 years? Well, you're going to keep electing Democrats. Yeah. So maybe somebody like WildStar or
hey,
thank you. Thanks for the plug.
Well, a friend, somebody. I mean, I'm not endorsing. I'm just saying that. I mean, just experiment and try something different and see how it goes. I mean, what are you going to do? Just keep doing the same thing? Just try something different. New leadership, new ideas. It can't hurt anything. And if it doesn't work out with WildStar, you know what? We have a recall process.
Exactly. Now, I mean, that's what I wanted to say. I wanted to add to what you're saying, because a lot of people are going to see this, and we want to make sure that they get as much information as they can. The Democrats here in the state, Democratic congressman senator out of Fullerton, Josh Newman. He's actually trying to move the goalposts right now with a bill, SB 663. What this would do, would change the recall process to where anybody who signs the petition, their information would be accessible to the person that they want to remove from office, so they can, hopefully persuade them to remove their signature.
They want to dox you and physically threaten you. It's beyond fascist. These are totalitarian dictators. Right. Okay, hey, the establishment wants to keep us fighting left, right, all day long. It's us, the little 99% against the 1%. And that's what everybody needs to pull their head out of their butt in California and point their finger back at the criminal establishment. None of these damn Democrats care about you. None of these Republicans care about you.
Right?
Yeah, well, they know what. Don't forget about the future, though, because the future recall election means that people who are signing those petitions are going to think, well, wait a minute, I don't want my information going to these people. It's just going to set up the stage for the future for them to intimidate people from signing those petitions in the first place. That's why I don't
want the shock troops of whatever political party coming to my front door and telling me that I shouldn't have signed that petition. And that's the underlining threat that this is implying.
We should put out the Congress should put
petitions. Well, they don't like those petitions because if you remember a couple of years ago, Lorena Gonzalez and her clan rose the fee from $200. So basically anybody could file an initiative, a petition. Because it wasn't going to price them out. Yeah. Now, her and her clan rose that to $2,000, which is still not a fortune, but it's going to price out many people who would like to be participating in the process who don't have $2,000 to throw into an initiative. But they could find $200 if they wanted to. Before that happened, anybody could file an initiative and run a campaign, and it was a free society. It was something to be proud of. It was a form of direct democracy that anybody could participate in. And now it's a little bit more difficult to do that because it costs $2,000. I mean, we still do it, but not everybody has $2,000 for that. And now the next step, like Mr. WildStar was talking about, they want to intimidate people from signing recall petitions because now their information is going to be collected. It's all about, like you've been talking about, this power, and I know that there's a lot of talk about how the Republicans were fascist and the power hungry Republicans, so on and so forth. But this is stuff that's happening in California, and the only thing that's different is they obscure that with things like, support for marriage equality, support for pro-choice things like that. They obscure the power grab with these social issues that make you feel, oh, these people are nice because they're supportive of the LGBT community, or these people are nice because they're protecting a woman's right to choose, and so on and so forth. Or they give us health care, or they give us back larger tax returns, and so on and so forth. So therefore, they must be good people and good government. But it's just like giving out candy to people you're about to kidnap. And so, that's why I wish that people would just wake up and see what's happening, not just in California, but in the country, because it's all happening everywhere. And at least I like to hear from what I hear in this group that there's some consensus on the idea that the change needs to come, and it's not just a matter of Republican or Democrat.
Marcus, they're driving around that white van with the sign on it that says free candy.
Cool. Yeah. And don't forget, Mr. Obama was giving out free phones or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I supported that program. Robert Stark, you had a comment?
Yeah, at the meeting Tuesday, we should put out an initiative against that bill that would violate the privacy of the petition signers.
Okay. Carlos, you had a comment?
Yes, with this whole, like, they trying to intimidate you with if you sign the recall. I personally signed the recall because I was tired of Gavin Newsom's, I'm not gonna cuss on here, I was tired of him, like, forcing us to wear masks, forcing us to stay locked down. Like, that to me is unconstitutional. And like, now they want to come intimidate me because I signed that recall. I feel like my life is in danger, and like, them not giving me Second Amendment rights, I don't know how to protect myself.
Yeah, well, what happens when they get those lists of people who sign their names in the petition, and then, oh, the list got leaked or was hacked, and then they have voter information going out to whoever wants it, and now you're afraid to go home because you signed a petition, and you have people like Antifa going to come and spray paint your garage door because you were against the Newsom regime or something like that. So it's just an open and a whole nest of problems.
The California government, or I will say this, I'm socially liberal, but I'm an ex-Republican. Still believe in low taxes, low regulation. Never quit. Said that on Laura Ingraham. And I told her, hey, I left the Republican Party because the bigotry, not because of low taxes and low regulation. Still an issue, and we have to back that up. Absolutely the case. The Democratic Party here is in charge. And while a lot of Californians generally agree with the progressive nature, there's a couple facts. People aren't wedded to the Democratic Party here. They might be the big show in town.
As a co-chair, but
yeah, Jason. Okay, we lost Jason. He'll be back in a second. The California Democratic Party is the biggest one in town. But if you look at the Public Policy Institute of California and a bunch of surveys, the Republican Party might be dead, but the Independent Party is huge. And the amount of Californians saying, I'm a Democrat because I love the Democratic Party and I can't think of anything else, is very tiny. It's more that people just know these are the candidates and they're going through the motions. And generally there's a progressivism. But the other thing is that if you also look at the average California voter, many surveys have showed that the average Californian and the average voter are slightly different. In fact, the average Californian voter is more conservative than the average Californian. This has been proved numerous times. So the idea that California is this liberal bastion and hardcore liberal isn't exactly true. Most voters are more conservative than the liberals. And the Democratic Party is here not out of love, but because the Republican Party destroyed its name. So it's like it's the only game in town.
Marcus, isn't this proof the two are working together against we the people? These two political parties, okay? One's the fall guy, and the other one, it's all up to your perspective, but you got these two political parties working together as a criminal syndicate against we the people.
Jason Wright? My blocking you? Jason? Okay, we'll come back to Jason. Yes, basically, the Democratic Party is in control. The Republican Party was already dwindling. They killed themselves by backing Trump. They're basically dead, but that doesn't mean that people chose the Democrats over the Republicans. It's more that the other alternative wiped themselves out. And so when there's only one store in town, where else are you going to go buy your bread and mustard? And if you look at the actual surveys of Californians, by reputable institutes here in California, people are not saying they're wedded to the Democrats and they love them and everything they do.
Yeah.
What they're saying
Can you hear me?
yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Jason, start talking, please. Okay, having some technical difficulties. Anyways, not wedded to the Democratic Party, independent, blah, blah, blah. There you go. Any other comments on this? Carlos, yeah.
I would like to add more, like those people who signed the recall, what's next? Are they going to do people who didn't get vaccinated? They're going to try more things.
Yeah, and I do want to point out, if we're talking about the...
okay, sorry. Either I'm lagging.
Just go ahead and talk, Jason.
I don't see his video.
Okay. There's some technical issues. Carlos, you were saying?
I was saying, like, what, like, they're like trying to threaten us with the people who signed the recall. What's next? People who are anti-vaxxers, who, like, if you don't want to get the vaccine, you don't got to get it. You're not forced to get it. They're going to come threaten us. Oh, you didn't get the vaccine, come get it. And that's up to the people's choice, and they won't understand that.
Yeah.
They're told tyrants they already passed mandatory vaccination to attend public school in this state, which is a violation of the state constitution. They don't care. They're criminal tyrants. All right. I mean, there's no other way to explain it.
Sorry, we are not getting into a COVID-19 show. Sorry.
No, I'm talking about the requirements to attend public school in this state.
Okay.
Has nothing to do with Charlie 19.
Understood. Got it. So, any other comments on this or tech censorship before we get to Congress members? We got some really great stuff. We got a book. We got courses coming up. Any other comments before we move on?
Sam, is it bring your kid to work day? Because I got one I can put on the screen too.
Yeah, well, it's trying to keep them from pushing the button underneath.
Okay.
Hanging out with the kid right here. Yep.
I'm just joking because I was like, I got one too. I can do that.
Hi.
Hey, can we see Paulina? Can we see Paulina?
She's sleeping.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
This is Adam. Adam wants to have his own show.
Okay. We're going to go to the Congress part. We're 40 minutes behind. That's okay. It's not the end of the world. But let's get right into it. So we have some updates. We're here to promote. Let me just show you first the courses that we have planned. So we had presented this idea here at Calexit a few weeks ago, and we are very motivated and determined to make things happen. So we like to talk, we like to debate, and then things get done. We're all about talking, all about debating, but at some point, there's enough talk, time to get it done. And so that's very much why we make projects happen. If you have any publicity projects about promoting the idea of California as a nation, or that Californians should view the concept of what if we have to be separate from America because they're destabilized, especially after January 6th, you have any idea on how to promote that and make that a more reasonable, rational concept amongst our population, please come to us. We want to help out. That's what we're dedicated to do. But I'm going to turn it over to Louis Marinelli. We're talking about courses here. Louis, do you want to take us away before I get into a screen share? I pulled up the Google Doc that has the outline of the courses just to show people.
Actually, I didn't know that you were going to call on me to speak about. I can speak about it, of course. But what is it that you want me to talk about?
Well, maybe just pick up. Let me do an intro, and then you pick up anything I'm missing.
Okay.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to share the screen. So this is the, actually real quick, let me do this. All right, give me 1 second. Sorry about that. Okay.
32.4.
All right, we are talking about the certification course in secession. Now that I have that brought up, let's take a share screen. Okay. So this was the idea, is that we wanted, having an online course is very popular. A lot of people are taking online courses. Additionally, we're trying to raise the profile that we can have a reasonable concept, that it is logical to have a concept about California being possibly independent. I'm not saying you have to come to that conclusion, but that you should think it's reasonable for us to discuss that. In order to do that, one of the things that we needed to do was give a way for the public to be as educated as we are here in the movement. We've been at this for 10 years. You know, if you talk to a lot of different members, especially people who've only been in here for a year, there's a lot of facts that they know, but that's not necessarily known by the public. And so we thought was, what if we had a course, you would take it and you would learn the basic facts, not opinions, hard facts about if California was to be a nation, issues, problems, who could do it, what's the law. And so we said, we'll take our 10 years of experience and put together a course. It would be broken up into 4 sections. After each section, you would get a certificate. After you completed all 4, you would get another document, maybe the equivalent of a degree. A lot of people like getting certificates. A lot of people post their certificates up, showing that they're interested in stuff. It's called client associating, very big. So we wanted to move into this arena too and provide an online course. This Google Doc has been already emailed out to the entire Congress. It's also available on WhatsApp. And it's an outline of the courses, as you can see now. So here's a graphic, Calexit Institute. Here's another picture, a young student taking the Self-Determination of the Modern World online course. We'll go through, again, this document is available for everybody. I'll post that up in a second. You go to the table of contents and then the draft text of the courses. So this is the part you're going to want to look at, page 2 to 29. You can look at the rest of this. You don't need to. What we did was we took the course, wrote the whole thing out, page 2 to 29, and then we copied this and repasted it here and added citations. So this section, no citations. This section, citations. So it's nice and clean. If you want to double check, you can. So let's go through that. Here's the table of contents. Let me shrink the page so we can get a better fit. Table of contents, all 4 courses, the Calexit Institute online certification, secession and the Constitution, self-determination in the modern world, conquering California, and California on the world stage. We've already outlined for each title subsections. So secession and the Constitution will cover the Civil War, Texas versus white, disputes, and who gets to determine what the law actually says, the Supreme Court. What happens if the Constitution is absent of any laws? Are you banned from doing something?
Yeah.
Even if it's not listed. And then we have state ballot initiatives versus federal attorney general. Yeah. Luce, you wanted to jump in, brother?
Actually, no, I got distracted and I spoke to someone in the room.
Okay.
I had the mute button.
Tell Paulina we're ready for her to take over. I'm ready for her to take the presidency. Time to get over here. The first qualification is that she has to like real Mexican style tacos. After that, I'll walk her through the rest of the process to become president. Getting to self-determination in the modern world, we already have the courses outline, academic study of modern legal secession movements. They happen fast. What does the United Nations Article 1 say? A modern interpretation of the United States Article 1, the self-determination and its effects on independence movements. What does Kosovo say? And specifically Bridget Coggins, we mentioned her a little bit earlier. How do nations get recognition? Finally, we'll look at modern secession movements from Texas to Quebec. Then we get to the third course, Conquering California, the Path to Statehood. Basically, California was independent from Mexico from 1836 to 1846. The Americans who came here were illegal and invaded. There was a violent invasion, suppression, colonization, and a white apartheid state set up. And we're still working on this section right here. I'm writing it out now, but it's the modern interpretation of modern law, its effect on decolonization, and how this applies given this particular history of California. Finally, moving on to the fourth and final course, at least for right now. Global recognition of the cause. How many nations recognize that California already acts like a nation? Leaders here in California who've already said California is a nation. Global acceptance of California already acting like a nation. What does the academic world say about the right size of a nation? And what academic scholars have already said that California should be independent? So 4 sections: secession and the Constitution, self-determination in the modern world, conquering California, the path to statehood, and California on the world stage. Again, going slowly, we already have each section outlined with what should go in there. Again, this document's available for everyone in the Congress to view and comment. And here's the actual draft. So the way that it's going to work is a series of tiny slides. Welcome. We're roughly going to cover this. Here's what we cover. So right after you get a little nugget of info, we go right to the slide 2. Here's what we're trying to do. Then slide 3, walk you through what we're talking about. Slide 4. So what you can see is that the slides are tiny. They cover a specific point, and then they move on. What we're trying to do is feed baby steps. People don't have a background in this. So we're trying to take somebody who has no familiarity with the topic and make it exceptionally easy for them to go through. We've already written out the slides, walking them through each point. And then we come to finally the last slide. It says questions. When you're looking at these courses, the slide that has all bolded lines, that's the last slide. You can see it's followed by this slide. You have completed the course and put in your certificate. So go right to the beginning. Here is a course, slide 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Questions, you answer these questions like, did the Civil War solve the legality of secession? Who gets to determine the legality of secession? Was it the Texas versus White or other cases? What did the Supreme Court say about Texas versus White? Finally, you'll see in blue, you have completed this course, print out your certificate. We're going to have certificates for people to print out. This should be spaced out a little bit better. Sorry. Then we go to slide 11. Let's move on to the second certification of the course. So right after you see black and then blue, it goes to the very next section. Again, a bunch of small courses. Here you go. You can see a little bit of information in bite-sized bits, talking about the independence of other countries. And again, the last slide, all black, a couple key questions. You completed this course, print out your certificate. Just quickly to review, let's move on to the third section, Conquering California, etc. A lot of the material is already there. This is the slide I have yet to write out. It is the red one. This is page 17. This yellow section is not written out yet. However, it is this red section here. So just want to point out, see all that black text? That's how done we are. This is the last section, and I'm working on that right now, as you can see here in yellow. Finally, there's the last section there. Now we get into the very fourth course, and then a variety of information, etc. So let's go back and take questions. Any questions from anybody? First, I want to go to Lewis. Thoughts, comments, feelings?
Yeah, I see that there's 91 pages in that Google Doc, but I want everyone to make sure that they understand that we're not going to create a great wall of text for people to read. Nobody would do that. But this text, I guess, is going to be a foundation of knowledge upon or from which we can create. We're going to make videos. We're going to have a speaker. We're going to pay a speaker to present some of this information orally, so that when you sign into your course, you can turn on a video and you're actually watching a human being talking to you, so you don't have to read it all. But there's also going to be sections of the course which will have an automatic slideshow of the slides, like Marcus is talking about slides. The slides themselves also won't be cramped or cluttered with text because that's not going to look right. But again, that information you just saw in the Google Doc is the core information that we will then extract from that information key points and ideas that go into videos that have a speaker, or videos that have a visual and a speaker, or a video that has a PowerPoint presentation with an audio narrator in the background. But then there also will be sections that require reading a little bit. And again, it's not going to be a long wall of text, but it will be, some amount of reading. And then at the end of each course, there'll be some kind of quiz or test. If you pass the test, you get the certificate automatically issued with your name on it. And then in order to start the next one, you actually have to go to the next course. So it's not going to just continue. I was looking at what Mark's presenting. It looked like it might present the idea that it just kind of continues right from there. You're going to have to go in and like enroll into the second course. And then it starts again with new videos and new audios and new text to read. And then when you finish that, you get the second certificate. And that process continues. Yeah. So like there, you complete this course, print out your certificate. Okay, good. Now that's the end though. In order to continue, you have to go out of that course and re-enroll into the next course. Now they're going to be listed on the page, so you just go one after the other, but it's not going to be like an infinitely long video that just can, or whatever, that just continues to go forever and ever and ever. And in the process during which you print out 4 certificates. So you're going to do these courses, and we can add or subtract from them. And once you complete all of them, then you're going to be given some kind of an expert certificate on the issue of self-determination in general. And I think it'll be really cool. And it's like Marcus was talking about, it's a popular idea right now. And it'll be a promotional idea because people will, print out their certificate and show people, and then they'll be like, oh, I want that too, or where'd you get that from? Even if they don't want to do it, they'll say, we'll be talking about the Calexit Institute, and therefore they're talking about Calexit. They might be taking pictures of themselves with their certificate and posting it on Instagram. People are saying stuff about Calexit. That's a victory for the campaign. And like I also said, it's really important because, like Marcus was saying, the information in there, a lot of it comes from our previous publications, but we're going to be rewriting it to such a way that it is presented academically and not like a bunch of talking points, because we don't want to have the kind of idea that this political campaign has these political courses now, and it's just teaching them their propaganda or teaching them their talking points. No, we want them to legitimately learn some information from these courses. And so we're going to be working on taking all this information and making sure that it's checked and rechecked and fact-checked, and not any kind of particular agenda in presenting it. We want to present the truth because we've always done this campaign based on the idea that what we're presenting is true, and we think it's the best course of action for California to take. Not because Marcus benefits from this personally, or I benefit from it personally, or a lot of campaigns in America are like that, where a group of people are in it for their own personal gain, or they want attention, or these groups out there like I don't know. I used to work with a group called the Human Rights Campaign, and those people are millionaires who run those campaigns, like the HRC groups and all those other groups like that. Those are millionaires. I mean, they still do the job of their campaigns, but they're making a good penny in the process of it. Marcus and I, we don't have that kind of situation where we're making millions of dollars. I would like to make millions of dollars, but we're not. And we're just doing this because we are 2 people without any kind of, we don't really have much in it, except for we want to achieve the objective just because we believe in it. And so we want others to learn what we know. And maybe they'll come to the same conclusion, maybe they won't. But in the process, they'll have a fun course to take and learn some information. And then when they are approached by other people about this issue, they're not going to repeat the falsehoods that are, spread by mainstream media, saying things like, it's illegal to secede, because it's not illegal to secede. And they're not going to be spreading falsehoods about how, California is not a donor state, because it is. Things that they hear in the news because Rachel Maddow decided to say something, all of a sudden they take it as it's the truth. So we're going to present, and we're going to do as best job we can to present fair and honest information. And if anybody can find something in our course once it's all published that's not accurate. We want to know about it so we can fix it, because we genuinely want it to be accurate information. And last thing we want to have is a course go up there, people start taking the course and they open it up and they say, oh, this is just propaganda. This is just the campaign talking about their campaign beliefs, right? Nobody's going to take it seriously, and it's going to lose credibility in a day like that. It's going to be like the biggest bubble in the history of the world. So we have to make it accurate and academic, and that's what we intend to do with it.
Well, that's impressive that you guys have put that together, and it's logical and reasoned. But how can we reason with these psychopaths? Because the people in control, they don't really care about logic and reason.
Well, I think that, people, the trolls, I mean, I troll sometimes too. So I think I know how they work. But I think that most people in California and across the country are not like that, trolls, I guess.
Most people are not psychopaths? I would hope so.
Well, and I think the troll thing, I mean, you're not going to convince a troll to change his mind. I mean, they're just to spite you, they're going to keep arguing with you, even if they really in their hearts believe what you just taught them. But I think most people, first of all, are apolitical. I think that most people don't care about politics so much. They're not really tuned in, except for, during the months prior to a big election. And so this is an opportunity for them to, during a non-political season, because right now it's not so, well, I guess it will be
Louis, over here in America now, they have politicized every aspect of our lives. Okay, the establishment, whether it's sports, whether it's breakfast cereal, okay, every aspect of our lives has been politicized now. There's no escaping it.
Well, I don't know. I still think that most people are not going to be, like, politically trolling all the time. So I think that you can reach some people with this course who will be able to then basically tell people some accurate information about self-determination. When they hear, for example, that somebody says, oh, Texas versus White says you can't secede, they'll be like, wait a minute, that's not true, because Texas versus White actually says ABC. And that's really the goal. And we don't want them to have to learn information in such a way where they need to be lawyers and stand up and be orators and give some speech about Texas versus White. But if they can say, no, Texas versus White says A, B, C, which actually I think it's only two things, so it would be A and B, then that's already a victory. And then the more people know that Texas versus White does not say that secession is illegal, and the more that they know that it says that it actually is legal with the consent of the states, that is good for the campaign. And it's not that we're teaching them some kind of like biased or slanted opinion. It's the truth. The Texas versus White says you can secede with the consent of the states, and those are the words, consent of the states. Now, they didn't define what the consent of the states was, what that threshold is, whether it's 26 state legislatures, which is our position. Our opinion on it is that it would take 26 state legislatures to agree, 26 or 28 of which voted for Trump in 2016. So there's one interpretation. Another interpretation, people say, is you need maybe congressional approval. Well, that's fine. So you need to get 50% of the Senate and the House of Representatives. There's really no logic, I think, to say why you would need that, because it doesn't say consent of Congress. I mean, certainly the Supreme Court would know the word Congress to say you need the consent of Congress, but they said the consent of the states, which would be the state legislature. So, but anyway, you can argue that. Another thing I would point out, I know that he wants to say something, is just recently we have that this push about adding DC and Puerto Rico as states to the Union, and they're talking about, well, all you'd have to do is get a majority vote in Congress for that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you need a majority to add a state, by what mechanism or legal philosophy would you require a supermajority of some sort to remove a state?
Because it only goes one way, Louis. You should know that. It only goes
one way when it's convenient, right? But I mean, if you need 50% to add a state, then you would need 50% to take away a state. So, and California was added as a state as a part of a Senate bill. It wasn't some constitutional amendment. California was added. I can get the bill for you. I forget the number of it, but it was added by a Senate bill by a majority vote, and I don't even think it was unanimous, by the way. But it was added as a regular bill, and just as DC can be added as a regular bill, and Puerto Rico can be added as a regular bill, but then they can't remove them with a regular bill. They need as some people say, need to have a constitutional amendment. That's just out of nowhere. They're just pulling that out of the sky out of nowhere. So there's a lot of misinformation out there, which is the point. There's a lot of misinformation out there that can be easily corrected because they're not issues or questions that you need to have a law degree to understand. And if we can do that, we can educate the public, and that would be a good thing.
I agree. You guys, that's a great document that you guys put together. Appreciate it a lot.
What about Nicholas WildStar? You had a comment?
Yeah, I had a question along the lines of, I guess, trolls and influence as well, because, you know, we are doing our best to kind of inform the people of California and motivate them to feel encouraged to promote Calexit and get involved in Yes California. And as far as optics is concerned, you know, we are people of California, but we also have people that are involved in other states as well as other countries, like with Lewis. And you do have those people that are skeptical when it comes to elections, and other countries get involved in other elections and political, whatever, I guess, elections or whatever. But Russia in particular, you know, is there any way that Lewis being involved could cause a rift with that, I guess, potential group of people that would want to get involved with Calexit? And what is our response for that?
I think we already went through that, didn't we? And we had 3 years of conspiracy theory by the mainstream media that they investigated up one side and down the other and proved that Russia was not a significant factor in the election of Trump.
Yeah, and also
pay attention.
the people who promote that narrative, they're never going to support this cause anyway, so I think it's better to stand on principle and not to
and if I may, real quick, as someone who's been around through this from before the Russophobia even came up, if I may just put this out there, that just like, you know, there were investigations about did Russia interfere with the elections, right? People here and there on social media sites were making false accusations that Russia had anything to do with us, our organization, our movement, in an attempt to discredit us.
My question is, where's all the money?
Hold on. The government agencies that investigated as absolutely thoroughly as they possibly could and found absolutely nothing. They then posted a statement, a summary, basically clearing us of any of those accusations. So if anyone is going to still believe false accusations when there is legitimate proof from multiple sources at the highest levels of government, sources that would love to find some dirt to throw us away on, by the way. So it's not like they didn't try, right? Anyone who's going to still believe that after this, they're never going to come around, like Robert said. And yeah, there was no money. That's where the money is. It was never there.
So in the chat, I saw Adam KOKESH said, "Can we task someone with raising money for Calexit?" Oh, this is through ties with foreign governments. I don't think raising money through foreign governments is. I don't think that's a good. I'd be cautious with that because it could make you like could make the organization a target.
Real quick, I'm sorry. Let me jump in. So we're going to address the question, but the point of this topic was about an online certification course. We work really hard to do that, and I don't want to get distracted because we have to work really hard to get everybody here, and we put a lot of effort into it. So let me just address this question, and then we're going to go back to what we're here because it's a fair question. We answer anything. Adam KOKESH is making a joke. We are not suggesting taking money from a foreign government. Mr. KOKESH is pointing out that the Americans sided with the French and the Revolutionary Army. So just to remind you, there was the French and Indian War against the Americans, where they shot and killed Americans and murdered and slaughtered them. A few years later, then the Americans worked with the French, who shot and killed them, asked for financing from the French government and an invasion from the French fleet, and then won the war. So just to recall, the American government turned to its arch enemy, who had slaughtered and murdered Americans, asked for military assistance and financing, and that is the only reason you're called an American today. Mr. KOKESH is reminding everybody of the duplicity of the early Americans and how it's kind of garbage to say anything about Russia now when George Washington did all the same stuff and everybody thought it was cool.
Well, don't forget that Russia also helped save the Union during the Civil War, but that's another topic for another day. And I also want to bring up one point just because it's in the news. I don't know if you're going to hear it on that side of the continent or that side of the world, but today in Moscow was arrested a group of people who were planning to kidnap the president of Belarus and his family as a part of a coup d'etat or something like that. And they are connected to the CIA. So see if that's coming out in the news on the West or not. I doubt it, but it's in the news here today.
Yeah, it did show up in my Twitter feed, but I doubt the mainstream media is gonna report on that. So with like foreign, so yeah, to clarify, like funding obviously not, but I do think media publicity, like establishing diplomatic connections or some kind of like symbolic friendships with other nations, that does give it legitimacy, but that's different than the funding.
So the Federal Central Intelligence Agency is trying to overthrow a foreign government.
Like that.
Well, that would be something America's been doing for decades, but I just find it interesting that 3 months after one of the establishment American politicians become president, that happened. That's the only reason I really, because it's suddenly like, oh, wait a minute, Biden, who's been part of the American system for 50 years, or 48 years now, 47 years, all of a sudden, 3 months after he becomes president, there's an attempt to kidnap the leader of Belarus and his family, who's on the edge right now because he lost that election back in the last year, but he's maintained control and all that mess going on over there right now. But it's just very fitting of American interference in foreign countries. And then when you talk about Russian interference in American, it's just kind of funny. But
I got a way to tie this to the educational course. All right. We can show how other countries have been involved in shaping our country. And, you know, pretty much because if California wants to become its own independent country, you know, we should be able to establish those types of relationships. It already happens right now. It just happens behind closed doors, you know, like with Gavin Newsom buying masks from China and having this, you know, deal that nobody else had an opportunity to have a say-so on. So who's benefiting from that relationship? We the people? No, you know, but definitely Gavin Newsom, and when he wants to run again, and his political affiliates, etc. So these are examples that we can show to promote the message of Calexit even more.
Yeah, I like that idea. I think, Marcus, we can add that as a course, because I think it would be important by demonstrating that, like, for example, like we were just talking about, the Americans turned to the British, arch enemy of the British, to fight in the Revolutionary War. The French helped, and without their help, we wouldn't have won. As I mentioned quickly before, the Russians had a role in helping the North win the Civil War. And I think if you put all of those in there together, you can paint a picture of, well, why wouldn't it make sense for California to reach out to foreign countries? It doesn't have to be any one particular country or the other, but the point is that there should be that kind of connection, especially when you have 5 countries, the UN Security Council, who are going to have the power to veto California's ascension to the UN. If it was to become a country, we need to join the UN. That process goes to the Security Council, and the United States, China, France, England, and Russia have veto power in that Security Council that would be able to deny or approve the application for California to join the UN. So it would make sense for California to reach out and start making some friends, because they're going to have people at the UN to go back to what Marcus was talking about in the beginning, that international recognition doesn't come as a result of you pissing everybody off or ignoring people, but by building relationships with other people.
Right. And
So
if money is the role, then I would say with foreign aid, that could also be included, because we're a contributor to that. And a lot of people object to us providing foreign aid to other countries. So if we want to, stop giving it to the federal government to go and start wars with other countries, we can keep that money and use it to build a better relationship with them that's based on trade and tourism and other things that's going to build our economies.
Yeah, and you could even kind of use an argument that, and this is something that Marcus used to always tell me about, that California is the #1 place for foreign investment in the United States.
GI.
And that could sort of be, portrayed as international assistance of some sort, isn't it? I mean, if foreigners are investing in California, isn't that helping California?
Right.
And something that helps California, isn't that assistance? And if it's from a foreign country, is that then foreign assistance? I mean, you could go there and say California currently receives foreign assistance because people choose to invest in California from foreign countries. So we're already receiving foreign assistance.
It's just favoritism, the cronyism that's killing it, because we, the people of California, aren't benefiting from that relationship.
Yeah.
No offense, I want to get to the book and I want to finish up the talk on the certification course. Just put a lot of effort into it. But before we do, I do need to address Nicholas Wildstar's question. So, yes, there is a rift. And we passed a rule a while back that we're not going to talk about the other California organizations in order to keep it down. But since it's here, I need to cover it. We got really big in 2016. December 2016, 2017, we were gigantically huge. And then around February 2017, the rumor mill started. And before that time, it was all great. And there was one after the rumor mill started, you're this, you're that. I don't know who's that, but if you could mute yourself. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Rumor mill got started. Now, here's the thing. Multiple investigations have happened, and none of them proved anything. I was there. It was incredible. People were saying, oh, you did this, you did that. I was accused of 9 different felonies myself. Guess how many actually played out? So this is the other half.
Marcus, you got to say that again. You got to say that again like Tom Cruise says it in A Few Good Men. How many times did that play out? 0.
0. And how many times did that play out? 0. So I want to introduce you to the people that we're talking about. Was they accused me of 9 separate felonies. How many of those played out? 0. They said that we embezzled money from a foreign government. They said that Lewis and I were directly taking money from Vladimir Putin. They actually wrote an article by someone who was drunk, said that they had a witness back them up, Claire, lied about that witness. Lewis and I went to the FPPC and said, hey, this claim is fraudulent. The person you're following up a claim on me, and Lewis lied about this third-party witness. Here's an email from the third-party witness saying they don't know what you're talking about, and this is fraud. The FPPC said, thank you for confirming that the complaint against you is fraud. We're now definitely opening an investigation upon you. They then took a year and a half, subpoenaed our bank accounts, and guess what they found? 0. So we had the federal government, House Intelligence Committee, Senate Select Intelligence Committee, Robert Mueller investigation said 0 proof of an American citizen working with the Russian government on collusion in any capacity. 0. Then we were personally investigated by the California government. Oh, you are accused of taking foreign money. Let's look into your bank account. Yeah, we know that the person who filed the claim committed fraud, which is a felony, but let's follow suit anyways. And they found 0. So
Sam,
I'm kind of
with come knocking on your door, Sam, one day.
I got served with a subpoena personally by the state of California here, investigating my rectum, and they found no cancer in my rectum. And so if I didn't know better, I would think you guys worked for the CIA. But apparently you don't after all the investigations and no money. Seems like we're free and clear of the Russia conspiracy theory, and it's been proved and utterly debunked. I don't know what else to say about it at this point, but anybody still pushing that narrative probably does work for the CIA.
Well, I'm just, what's the point? Here we are. We're about ready to get a certification in online courses, and we get dragged into but you're secretly a Russian spy org from 4 years ago. This is what people do. I'm just saying, this is why they go to members and they're like, did you hear about Lewis? Did you hear about Marcus? Did you hear about Lewis and Marcus? I'm sure something horrible asked them. Go ahead and ask them, so that we're wasting time instead of talking about certification and getting courses and getting a book and making the next debate. We're talking about rumor mills that were disproved multiple times by multiple investigations, and I got to go over it again. And nothing but love to everybody. I love you guys. It's just, this is what they do. Lewis,
add something to that real quick.
Louis Marinelli is born from space aliens who are bent on world domination. I said it. Let me say it 500 more times. Guess what you're going to be talking about all day? Doesn't matter if there's evidence. Just say it a bunch. And whenever Lewis is talking about something important, no, Lewis is a space alien bent on global domination and impersonating humans. Now that I said something controversial, stop what you're doing and let's focus on this instead. So I wanted to address the issue, but I wanted to point out this is losing. I'm sorry, but this is losing. Here's a rumor for 4 years ago. Let's go over it again, which I'm willing to do. But guess what we didn't do?
Can I give you a positive note on that? Actually, we got a good result. We found out a new chapter to add and a way to put an end to those rumors by, pointing out the hypocrisy with the United States taking and giving taxpayers money, or money in general. So,
And if I could just add real quick, because I think the question was about, I'm not even involved that much. I'm not an officer. I'm not even a member of the Calexit Congress, a voting member. I proofread some things that Marcus writes, and I'm a proofreader. I'm a copy editor. I'm a copy editor, Russian spy. That's what I am. That's what I do. Marcus sends me stuff, and he writes these big, long, great walls of text, is what I call it. And I'm like, Marcus, it can't be like that. Nobody's going to read it. Why you spend your time doing that? Nobody's going to read walls of text. On Facebook, it needs to be like 100 words or less. On Twitter, they give you a limit for a reason, and he still gives you things that are longer than the Marcus. They don't fit on Twitter, the things he sends me. So I take what he do, and I take what he writes, and I rewrite it in some way so that it sounds short and concise, and it's not an academic newspaper. And that's my involvement. That's really what I do. So, and sometimes I don't think you guys haven't seen me here in like a month or so. Sometimes I join here to talk about the government of California being a blue fascist state.
I agree. It's all a distraction, Marcus, but I do like to hear you. I do like to hear you say that zero, and that's all I got to say about it.
Hey, Nick, I love you, right, brother? Nothing but love, Nick WildStar.
Oh yeah, absolutely, of course. Thank you very much.
I'm Latino. I get passionate. You brought up
the more we can have the conversations and put it on the record, the better. That way, if it's ever up for speculation by anyone wondering, they can always, consult this video now in this conversation. So thank you very much for having it. And thank you.
I guess I won't be a running mate. I guess he won't choose me as his running mate.
You're gonna have to come to California for that.
Yeah. They're still saying stuff. My favorite one is the BBC headline where they'll go, "Oh, Russia backed Calexit." Here's this article from the BBC, and it goes, "Russia backed Calexit." That's all it says. And it goes, "Oh, we have evidence from 2016 that the Russian government did promote the tweet about Calexit. Oh, they're influencing. You read down. Third to last paragraph, past the billfold. which if you talk to any reporter, they knows what it means to say pass the billfold. Pass the billfold means that's the information I never wanted you to actually get to read. Ask any reporter. It's a common trick. It's called pass the billfold. It's the bottom information. It's the facts that went against the narrative and the headline. And in that narrative, they go, oh yeah, 80%, 80% of all the tweets were real life Californians, and 20% were from the Russian government. So for the question for me is, how come the title didn't read 80% of all the Calexit tweets are real life actual Californians who want this idea and legitimately believe in it? No, Russia pushed the Calexit tweet. End of story. That's the title. You know what that suggests to people, right? That Russia did the entire thing and not just 20% or 1/5. They can't say 1/5. They can't say 4/5. They can't use the actual numbers. They have to use misleading titles. And that's the game. That's the game. So, oh, Russia backed this. Oh, my other one is on Wikipedia. They go, Russia has financially backed Yes California. It's on Wikipedia.
If it bleeds, it leads.
Yep. Yep. So what they're talking about is one hotel night stay. One night in one hotel 4 years ago. But they don't say that. Russia financially backed Calexit. That sounds like I'm getting checks from Vlad every other day.
Marcus, it wasn't even a hotel because I was already living in Russia at the time.
That's right. They didn't pay transportation.
They paid for transportation for the Texas delegation. The Texas delegation had a flight and a hotel or two or whatever for their stay in Moscow. But I moved to Moscow weeks before that, in the beginning of September. This event happened in the end of September. I was already in Moscow on my own dollar because I moved to Russia already. And so there was no basis for that, except for the fact that they didn't realize that I lived in Russia at the time already. And that the other groups, like from Puerto Rico and from Texas, and there were some other groups as well from like in Europe, like the Catalonian group and so on and so forth. There's a group from Italy. There were groups from there from Donbass and Africa who came there sponsored by that group. But uniquely, Yes California was there because I was already there in Russia.
So why doesn't the headline read, Russia bought one bed for one night over the last 4 years, and an exhaustive investigation that the subpoenaed bank accounts proved zero other money in any capacity? No, let's scrap all that. Russia financially backed Yes California, period. Moving on.
Well, because the media has to show Russia in a negative light, just like with that recent CNN article written by the CNN journalist who was recently detained in Moscow because he didn't have his credentials with him, and he was trying to was part of a group of people that were blocking the access to the prison where Alex Navalny is being held. He went to Ukraine to cover the story about the civil war there, and they recorded a video, or they took a video of some tanks rolling through a train station, and then they said it was Russian aggression. Well, then the Russian Foreign Ministry objected to it the next day, and they said, wait a minute, those are Ukrainian tanks at a Ukrainian train station moving through Ukraine to go to the Ukrainian front line. And it's visible in the video that they are Ukrainian tanks, if you examine them, the model of them. And it's visible in the background that it's Ukraine, because you can see things like the state coat of arms of Ukraine in the background on one of the trains. The trains are colored blue and yellow like the flag of Ukraine. And the actual platform is recognizable as a platform in one of Ukraine's major cities. And so they just took this video of these Ukrainian tanks going to the border and said, this is Russian tanks going to the border to join 50,000 Russian troops at the border as Ukraine stands and waits for a Russian invasion. Complete fabrication of the facts. And not only is it like with our case, they did the same thing, but at least in this case, that's going to shape the minds and policies of Western countries and how they interact with Russia, and it could make the situation worse. A war could spark there as a result of that misinformation. That they think, oh, Russia's sending tanks there. Well, we need to react to that. How is NATO going to react? They're trying to get Ukraine to join NATO now, so that Russia can attack Ukraine without a full-fledged war. And so there's a whole mess there, but it's all based upon this misinformation and these journalists who have the desire to just misrepresent information to push a specific storyline. That particular storyline was Russian aggression. Like ours 3 or 4 years ago was Russian interference and Russian sponsored secession groups.
That's another portion to add, influence to provoke wars like the Gulf of Tonkin,
It would be just in there. So the Gulf of Tonkin and there was other, I think I even heard about like the Titanic and the Lufthansa or whatever Lufthansa. What's the name of that U-boat? Lufthansa. What's the name of that U-boat that they sunk in the Atlantic Ocean? That was the
Lusitania.
Lusitania. Yeah, there it was. Yeah, all those are in the same category.
And there's something else called 9/11 as well.
Okay. We could go to the Iraq War, and we know definitively they lied to the public about weapons of mass destruction to cause that war, based upon a total lie, well documented, and that the Vietnam War was based upon a total lie, well documented. Those are facts. That's 2 big wars based on lies. Okay, let's move on to the second section, a book to convince liberals to secede. This is our last major publicity thing. Let me just show you what we're doing here real quick. So I'm going to do share screen.
Are Democrats going to see now that even with Biden as the executive, the Democrats have total control of all branches of government, I guess, except supposedly, theoretically, the judicial? They have legislative and executive. Are they going to see that the empire marches on now?
Let me get to that in a second. Sorry. Good point.
While Marcus is looking for something, does anybody on this call have Dogecoin? Doggy coin?
No, Bitcoin.
I do.
It's up. It's going up big time. It just broke through the resistance line, and it's going up now.
Again? Whoa, to the moon.
It's at 34 and a half. It reached 45 cents about 5 days ago. It dropped back down to the 2025. Now it's back up at 34 and a half, having broken the resistance line at 33.8.
Yeah, this is good.
And that's a direct indictment of the Federal Reserve, the U.S. dollar.
So if you have the doggy coin, go check your Binance or Coinbase or whatever you got. Everybody's silent now because they're going to check their cryptocurrencies now.
Yeah, I actually picked up $20 worth of Bitcoin last night when it was like 10K under. It had a huge drop just this last week, and the
Bitcoin had a huge drop. We had a bad day for Bitcoin and altcoins in the last couple of days, but the so-called doggy coin is on its way back up, and keep your eye on it. It's almost at 35 already. But the reason I brought that up, Marcus, because I thought you were going to mention eventually something about our Yes California coin.
Oh, I can do that. Yeah. We are working with Daunte Mahajan. So Daunte Mahajan's out of India. He's a Californian, traveled to California. He's a data scientist. And we actually got the idea from NICKOLAS WILDSTAR to look into a non-fungible token, which is basically a sort of coin that can be bought and sold, but it's more like buying a piece of artwork or song versus a mined currency for the sake of just being currency itself. We're going to have the Yes California logo created like some other sports agencies into a non-fungible token, basically a coin, piece of artwork that people can buy and sell. Daunte knows how to do this, and he is interviewing people to do the actual programming, I think out of Vietnam, and it may cost us no more than $200 because basically Daunte providing all the super tech services free. He'll farm out a little bit of the hard work to a programmer in a third country, but he's going to put it together a lot himself. So that's the kind of expertise we already have here in Calexit Congress. We're able to do things that are really expensive and big because we have people at that caliber who can do it. So that's coming. Non-fungible token, yes, California logo. More on that soon.
Yeah, I think that it'll be interesting because if people can start buying that, I mean, it's not going to really be worth anything right now, but people who think that California may eventually secede, I mean, imagine if it does. That'd be a nice little like artifact that you could have that was like, oh, I believed in this way before it was popular, and here's the proof because I have the Yes California NFT. I think it's kind of a cool thing, a little novelty thing. Of course, nobody's going to spend a lot of money on it, but a nice little novelty thing I think you could have, and it's interesting.
That's the plan. We wanted to be able to show that we're doing interesting things and that we're making things happen. So the Calexit Congress has only been here a little bit, but we're going to have a book up. We're going to have online certification courses up, and we're going to have an altcoin coming up. And we'll have accomplished all that within 1 to 2 months. Additionally, we have the website for the Calexit Congress. We've already done 7 resolutions past them, and we finalized a couple and posted them up. So the Congress instituted a bunch of rules. We have grown about 10% in members. We've had about 6 to 7 shows. We're on YouTube. We've grown our subscription base about 50. We now have each of our meetings is about 4 times larger than any other Calexit meetings before ever in the last 4 years. So even in 2016, when we had meetings and we posted them on YouTube, we get maybe 30, 40 people watching, maybe 80 on a really good day. We're averaging about 135. So yes, California already has meetings here with the Calexit Congress with you participating, where we're 2 to 4 times larger than any of the Calexit meetings we've had in the last couple of years. Additionally, books coming out, courses coming out, altcoin coming out. Calexit Congress website is designed, resolutions already passed, and new members joining. Looks like we're going all the way. You should probably join us before we run out of slots. And yeah. Now, to get to the book to convince liberals to secede, again, we're going to have an altcoin coming. We have courses coming out. Oh, and I do want to say about the courses, go ahead and comment. So Lewis is totally right. It's a wall of text. That is not going to be the final product. We're going to have to massage that and make videos and make stuff. So you all have the Google Doc on that, and it is there for you to comment. And say what you like, what you don't like. It is not the final finished thing. We're just trying to get the facts correct with all the citations, which I was showing you is there. So jump on in and add your 2 cents. We have the facts and the basic material together. We will be wordsmithing it into the final thing. Please give your opinion to me or Lewis on the courses. And I'll pop the link in here. This is for, let me post that in private chat again. And here, and then make a banner so everybody can see if you want to be part. There's the Google Doc on the courses and certification. Okay, getting to the book to convince liberals to secede. So Liberty Block has been a long-term partner with Yes California, actually going back about 4 years. We did a series of convince red states to support California seceding. As Lewis pointed out, we thought we only needed about 25 states plus California to allow us to legally secede. We got a lot of attention with Fox News and One America News Network and the Graham Ledger Show, talking about how we were reaching out to a coalition of 11 conservative states to have them ask their legislators to back California leading. Based upon that relationship, we've had a long, fruitful partnership with Liberty Block. Recently, Liberty Block published a book telling conservatives how to secede, and Liberty Block asked if they would partner with Yes California, and we would have a book for liberals on how to secede. So I'm going to show you some screenshots here real quick. Okay. So this was the original draft, Why Progressives Must Secede from the Union. As you can see, Liberty Block here, Yes Cal here, How Conservatives Have Made America Hostile to Progressives and What Can Be Done About It. We already wrote out a lot of the material. You can see the introduction here. We're talking introduction, California has an option, California secession isn't that crazy an idea. Then we get into all your rights are going to be taken away by conservatives across America. Here's a list of them. And then finally, the third section is, what does that mean? And basically, we talk about tyranny of the minority, that Republicans, because of the Constitution, have an ability to win elections and continue to win them, and they will get into power and take away your rights. So the book is the alternate version to this. This is the book by Elliot Axelman, a Yes California Calexit Congress member. It is by Liberty Block. So Blueprint for Liberty, How and Why the United States in a Way That Pleases Everyone and Preserves Freedom. This is a book for conservatives on how liberals are crazy and are going to take over the government. And so you have to watch out for them and be ready to be more independent. Elliot pointed out rightly that there is a ton of books on secession right now. A lot of books. F.H. Buckley, Richard Kreitner from The Nation, etc. But almost all those books are for conservatives. So there's a bunch of books for conservatives on, hey, watch out for liberals. They're crazy. Kind of like a one-sided perspective where you're not lying, but you're cherry-picking information and you're just trying to hype people up into a situation supportive. But they're aimed at conservatives. There's almost none for liberals. Richard Kreitner wrote a book, but it was basically a history lesson. So Elliot said, let's write a book for the liberal perspective. What if conservatives get in power and they take elections, even if you think you might win through unfair means, and then they take away your rights? You would have no choice but to leave California. As you can see, we have all the citations already popped in. I'm just showing you that quickly. Here's the footnotes for everything. Maps, graphics, quotes, more citations. So each page is averaging about 5 citations. This is the draft Google Doc. I just want you to see how much of it has been written with the graphics and the citations. Additionally, thanks to Jason Wright for editing it, and for NICKOLAS and WildStar and Professor Darren Brown agreeing to take a look. Again, the whole thing, relatively easy to read, citations each section, graphics, etc. So it's about 31 to 34 pages if you take all of the citations and graphics and everything. Here's the ebook. This is a separate one. Elliot put this together. Here's the final version, final title, final subtitle. As you can see, it's a lot cleaner. And then the references are built into the text. So this is, we're doing a second round or third round of editing on this, and we're reviewing it right now. So that's that, and it's going to be the opposite of this, and he will publish it. Give me 1 second.
When do you think that's going to be complete, Marcus?
Give me 1 second. Sorry. Hey, Elliot, would you like to come on the show? We're having a show. You don't have to. I can send you a link.
Oh yeah, shit! I forgot about the thing. I'm driving now, but I might be back to the base in like 20 minutes. Could you just do me a favor when you get a chance and send me that poll, all those numbers you had on the poll about how what California export session and how they misrepresent, they undercounted people who would like to do it?
Yep.
And if you could send me the latest info on what the status is, like petitions, how many signatures you have.
Okay. All right.
I'm adding some more stuff to the book, so.
Okay. Hey, let me call you back. I got to get back to the meeting. I'll call you back in a few minutes.
Awesome. Thanks.
Okay. All right. So that was Elliot. As you can see, we're hot and fast trying to get through the book. He has a few more things, but basically we have most of it written, most of the chapters in, had it edited 2 or 3 times. All the citations popped in. We're close to the final chapter, and he's looking at a cover, and he has 2 or 3 more editors looking at it. So let's go to comments from the Congress about the book. Anybody have any comments, thoughts, feelings?
Just when's your estimated time of completion?
We are estimating before the month is over. So again, we have most of the text written. We've had it reviewed by editors 3 times. All the citations have been in. Elliot was super excited and is adding additional chapters. So that's what's making it go a little bit longer. Kind of up to him. I told him that the Yes California part, we'd already put our sections in. He wanted to add a few more chapters on how conservatives going to take away rights. So that's what he's doing. But I told him I definitely want this out before the end of the month. Lewis.
What does it mean out?
That it would be published by Liberty Block on Amazon and available for purchase, at least is an ebook.
So it'd be self-published?
Yes, yes, on Amazon by Liberty Block. I need to double check that. He might have an additional separate publisher. Initially, we were looking at an ebook on Amazon and maybe a print book published by an additional party. I was trying to get Elliot here. He's not able to make it. He had more information on that.
Okay. Can I just make my that's fine. I expected that.
Oh no, Lewis. Yeah.
You have all those citations in there. Is there, when you publish the book, do you intend to have those citations on every page like that?
So Elliot had some opinions on the citations. Originally, I merged the citations into the text so that when you read it, you could see exactly who was saying what. Elliot wanted footnotes. I did that. He then didn't like that and wanted to do something else. So I have provided him the ebook, which has the citations linked directly into the sections you're referring to. And Elliot has decided to do, he's looking into that now. I'd have to get back to you on the way he wants the citations to be displayed, but I can tell you that we have citations for everything. I like merging it into the text. He wanted footnotes, then he went back to footnotes, then he's looking at something else. So basically I said, look, we've done our part. It's written out right, it's edited, the citations are there, it doesn't sound silly. Elliot can sometimes, with respect, get into super technical conversations with himself where he's like, it's this, it's that, and I go, make a decision and go forward.
Is there any position that you would take the citations out of each page altogether? Put them at the end of the book, maybe?
I can suggest that to him.
I mean, when you have citations on every page like that, it looks like a Supreme Court ruling decision, and not like a book. I mean, when's the last time you read a book and it's half the pages it's footnotes? I mean, it was a textbook, right? Or it was a Supreme Court ruling where they do those, where they have one line of text and like the whole other rest of the page, 90% of the page is a footnote for that kind of thing. So I don't know. I just think as a formatting, if you're calling it a book, when you open it up, it should be text without citations and stuff like that everywhere. And at the end, if you want, you could put the citations in some kind of bibliography. But even that kind of makes it kind of like a textbook still. I mean, it's supposed to be like a book for the general public, right?
Yes.
Not like an I can't speak.
Yeah.
Academic book. So if its audience is not to be academic, then why have citations really even at all?
Again, not my call. I didn't go that way. Working with a partner, and he said, "Hey, let's do footnotes. Let's do this. Let's do that." So I'm trying to make him happy. I will definitely communicate to him that, hey, if you're writing a book for the lay public, maybe put all the citations at the end. I will point out that he seems to at least tacitly be moving in that direction with the e-book I just showed you, where these citations are built into the text itself. That would be different than the print book, which can't have hyperlink things, and so we'd be looking at it. But I love the idea of the citations at the end. It's supposed to be easy going. I'll make sure Elliot knows.
Well, yeah, because you have what, 37 pages there, right? In the doc, Google Doc?
Let me count.
Well, doesn't it show you the number of pages if you scroll?
It does, but the master document is broken up into multiple sections. Yes, about 40 pages. Sounds right.
Okay, so minus all of the citations, you probably have about 30?
That, without doing a count right now, yes, that sounds accurate.
Okay, so I mean, I guess my comment is that shouldn't it be longer than 30 pages of text if it's a book? Otherwise, it's like a pamphlet. When do we go from pamphlet to book? And if we're making a book, and you said he wanted to add chapters, that sounds good, because I think that if you're going to tell the story of why liberals should support California secession, that's the topic, right? How long are the conservative stories? Like those books that you referred to from the conservative point of view, how long are those stories? How long are those books?
Of the 5 to 7 books, they range from 30 pages to 250 pages. So I haven't seen a real consensus on how big a book should be. It's kind of like if people like your story. So I've seen some really small ones. I've seen really big ones. Yes, books are typically over 100 pages to 200 pages. I've seen a few people get by with 80. I've seen a few people get by with 30 or 40, just because it's the market. People really like the certificate thing, where, you know, hey, I read the book on secession super fast in 2 days. Now I'm an expert. Books should be over 100 to 200 pages. Yeah, there does seem to be some wiggle room. I do think we'll get it when you add all the citations in and all the graphics and everything. I think we're at least looking at 80 pages. That's me estimating off the top of my head.
Yeah, but I don't think it counts if the bibliography doesn't count in terms of pages of the book, because you could say one thing and then you can find 1,000 sources to back it up and say, look, I have 1,000-page book now. But I'm just saying that maybe it'd be worth expanding the content, because it gives it more. I mean, if you have 100-page book, people are going to say, even if they don't read it, it's going to look more legitimate than a 30-page book. It's like, you can explain the whole issue of California secession in 30 pages.
Good points. I will pass them along to Elliot.
And I just bring that up because you said that he himself was considering adding new chapters. So if he wants to do that, then that's good. Let's encourage him to do that. And is he the only author of it, or are there other authors? Because I saw in the beginning it said it was written by several different people or groups, or what the deal?
So I had asked him to list only myself and him. There's been a little bit of back and forth. There were additional people brought into it, but I said on the cover page it should only be Yes California and Liberty Block, his name and my name. Additionally, people have edited. Additional people have written 1 or 2 chapters.
I'm referring to a section, and I think in the first couple of pages where it says something like people's names, Yes Cal, Liberty Block. There's a whole list of people there. Can you bring it up?
Sure.
I think it's right in the beginning, like in the first 2-3 pages.
Yep. Pull it up. I will remind everybody, this is a draft. This is not the final version. So if you see something and you flip out, realize we can edit this. Okay,
right there. So Elliot Axman, Liberty Block, Yes Cal, Calexit Congress, Marcus Evans, Hannah Miyamoto, and Jason Wright. Okay.
I asked him not to do that. So just want to go on record. I said, don't do that. And I'll have to have a conversation with him afterwards before you say anything.
No, my issue here is not really the names. My issue here is where it says Yes Cal, because we've never gone by that name. And I mean, never have we ever referred to ourselves as Yes Cal. We've done Yes CA, rarely. But we've never gone by Yes Cal. So when you put that in there by Yes Cal, nobody's going to know what that is. And
what should it be instead?
Well, Yes California is the name of the group, right?
Okay.
Isn't it? I mean, is it not? So
I've been using Yes Cal for years.
I've just never heard you use. I mean, in our public name, like, and sure, as a nickname like Marky instead of Marcus, maybe, right? But Yes Cal for Yes California, sure. But I mean, an official documentation, pamphlets, flyers, the tents we've made, the initiatives, it's all been Yes California. And in the news, they never say Yes Cal, they say Yes California. So, I mean, I'm just saying from a public point of view, our branding name is Yes California and Calexit, and not Yes Cal. Yes Cal could just be like a short version that you use. So I'm just saying that keep for the consistency wise so that you don't lose the marketing value of the name Yes California. That adds marketing value, that adds to the book itself and for Yes California. So it's a mutually beneficial to put the full name there for that reason. That just leads me into the other question, because I was looking through the text that you sent me previously, and I saw there that there were abbreviations, like CA for California, but in the text and paragraphs, there shouldn't be those type of abbreviations in a book. If it's the word California, you shouldn't have CA for California in the middle of a paragraph. It should say the word California. And I can't tell you where it is right now. I just saw it in some places, and I know that people do that for CA. So I'm just saying, from a consistency point of view and a formatting point of view, that the way it should look is, if you have, I mean, like if you're going to have FBI acronym, that's totally normal, because you don't have to say Federal Bureau of Investigation every time. But California, I don't think it's appropriate to abbreviate some things in the text of a book, whereas you should just write out the word California.
I think you're...
So yeah, I'm just saying I would hope that when you go through the editing process, that part is included in the editing process. That's all.
Already done. So you're looking at the old version. Elliot made a new Google Doc, and he fixed that in there.
Okay, good. Sounds good then.
I will put the link to the new Google Doc in private chat. Give me 1 second here, and I'll post it up on the banner. Let me see here, 1 second. Share, 1 second here, get link. Only people change the link to people can comment. Okay, done. 1 second, I'm clearing this up. Anyone on the internet with this link can comment. Copy link. All right, so here I'm posting this to the thingy at the bottom of the screen. Sorry, the brain is going out on me. And in private chat, there is the Google Doc link to the most polished version of the book to convince liberals that we need to secede, coming up. So you can take a look at the link. You can, if you're here in Congress, you can go to the private chat, and we'd ask you to check out any comments. Let me get a lot of feedback off someone's mic. All right, I can't find it. Okay, any other comments on the book to have liberals secede? Let's make sure it's written out as Yes, California. Let's make sure that the people who are listed as editors and writers are not listed as the authors on the first page. Citations should be moved out to the end of the book, and it's good to flesh out the book to at least 100 pages. That's the goal. Any other comments from anyone on YouTube?
I opened the link and I sent the request to. Where does the request go to you? I sent a request for access to the document.
It will either go to me or Elliot. I will take a look and get that. By the way, I just reposted a link. So if you click this link, it's more current and should give you automatic access. That's also posted in the private chat. So
got it. Thank you.
I sent out a Google Doc link 5 minutes before. Ignore that one. Use the more current Google Doc link, and that'll get you to the final master version doc, and everybody can comment. Okay, any other comments? Anybody? Comment online, comment on YouTube. Okay, then we'll have the last section, and Lewis is here, so that's awesome. Let me do this real quick. Okay, here we go. So recently we had a person unconnected to us say the same thing that we did here at the Calexit Congress. So Mike Cernovich is here. He's out of Orange County, California. He has 691,000 followers, almost 3,000 average, 691. Here's his comment, journalist, etc. So Mike Cernovich said this recently on April 11th. We live in two separate countries now. One side wants firearms freedom, world peace, and a right to bodily autonomy. The other side wants fascism. We need to break up in a friendly way soon. While I may not agree with his personification of the sides, the fact is that this guy is a Californian, 690,000 followers following, and he is saying, hey, look, you know, it's getting bad. They're not unity. People are going to need to look at divorce as a way to deal with this issue before it gets bad. So that's a fellow Californian saying the exact same thing we are. Additionally, Yes California tweeted out to him, and he retweeted our tweet. So Mike Cernovich, who made this comment, saw that there's a Yes California Calexit Congress and that we support that message, and he retweeted it. So big success for us.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Mike Cernovich was flirting with running for governor. I'm not sure if he's a declared candidate, but we should, I don't think he's going to endorse Calexit, but we should invite him to at least be a guest speaker.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that I agree. I agree. Yeah. Okay, last bit. So that was really awesome. Last bit, here you go. I'll show you this. Okay, so we had sent this out, and here's today's agenda. We are proposing a resolution today. So recently, Adrian Lawrence was on the Young Turks show. Give me 1 second to get past that ad. And she was saying around here that she is a California nationalist and she would outright support California seceding. So we were heavily inspired by that. Because of that, we drafted this resolution to express the opinion that the California Independence movement, that the American dollar is overinflated as a form of currency, and it's artificially inflated, and it does that through military intimidation and bases all over the world. We wrote out a variety of text explaining this, but basically we wanted to have a resolution saying, if California were ever independent, we would not have a dollar that's against California values, mainly that it would be overinflated, not based upon a real value of what it's worth, and that the inflation happens through intimidation and threatening to overthrow countries and blow them up, etc. People here in California and Calexit had already been moving towards that, and we were inspired by Adrian because she said, hey, I'd be on the dollar for the first independent California. If we were to break away, I'd be down for that in the Who Would Be on the California Dollar Young Turks April 4th. So inspired by her, we created a draft dollar. It's kind of an Old West style. This is the outline of Califia. Califia was the mythical queen of California. She's a big part of California identity. Goes back to when the Spanish thought for hundreds of years that California was independent. This hat and the braids and this body here is from Queen Califia. We then imported Miss Lawrence's face on top, matched it to the same setting, redrew the background, inserted these California symbols, and then yes.
Sorry to interrupt. Are you trying to show us something? Because all we're seeing is your email.
Oh, so it's not showing a graphic. Oh, never mind.
All we see is your email inbox.
Okay, well, blah, blah, blah. There is.
Okay, I thought that was just me with the video feed lagging.
When your email,
we were all just reading your email. We were all reading all your emails while you were just talking about it.
I don't know how to fix that. So
when those bounce back,
showing it. Anyways, we have a great graphic of Adrian Lawrence. Looks like Califia in the shape of an Old West coin. California in things on there. Looks really cool. Was supposed to showcase that we are excited here at Calexit, yes, California Congress, that somebody who's famous and a Californian, unconnected to us, is also talking about how California should become independent. And we wanted to celebrate that. We thought creating a coin of her on a mythical California dollar in the form of Califia would be honorary and a good way to build publicity. Thoughts, comments on that? Okay, then we'll move forward with that. Sorry I wasn't able to get the graphic to display. It's really cool. I sent out an email with it. It worked when I tried this on the thingy earlier, so I don't know. Comments, thoughts?
I'd like to know if Congress would support reaching out to Adrienne Lawrence and seeing if she might be interested in either attending as a guest or be a speaker, or if she'd want to get involved. Like, you know, would Congress support reaching out to her? And I mean, I know it's something we don't really do, go and, you know, actively petition people to come and join the Calexit Congress, right? But maybe in this one case, it might be appropriate. I'd like to know if the rest of Congress would approve reaching out.
Give me 1 second, Elliot. We'll go to you. Is anyone opposed to us reaching out to Adrienne Lawrence? By the way, I've already tried to do that, and NICKOLAS WILDSTAR has been trying. So if y'all opposed, whoops, is generally everybody supportive of us trying to reach out to her? Like Jason's saying? Okay, Jason, looks like we got approval.
Okay, well, I guess I will add my voice to the voices already currently trying to get a hold of her.
Yeah. Okay, I have Elliot Axelman here on the book, Convincing Liberals to Secede. Elliot, are you there, brother? Yeah. Okay, score. Elliot, we just talked about the book. People are really excited. A couple notes for you from the group. I showed them the final ebook. I sent that Google Doc to everybody. They cannot modify the text, but they can comment. So there might be some comments. I wanted to make sure that we listed the authors as just Yes California and you and Liberty Block and me. And then we listed Jason as an editor and Hannah as a contributor. But on the front page, it just says, you know, Elliot Axelman, Liberty Block, and Marcus Rees Evans, Yes California Calexit Congress. Additionally, there was a suggestion. People love the idea of adding more chapters to the book. So I am instructed by the Calexit members to tell you, awesome idea of adding more chapters to the book on how conservatives are going to take away rights. Flesh it out. Let's get that book up to 80 to 100 pages. That was what I wanted to tell you. The other thing is, how do you feel about we move all the citations to the end of the book? I think
that's what I mentioned to you. I said the other day. So I like hyperlinks for ebook, which is perfect. Hyperlinks, which is fine, and it works very well with Kindle. But for the paperback version, the problem with footnotes with Google Docs is every page will have the bottom 50% of the page will be footnotes, which is awkward. And there's an add-on for Google Docs that'll automatically move everything in the same way. It'll move everything to the end of the book. And that's what I did for my first two books, and it works great. The last few pages of the books are all sources, and a lot of people do that with their books as well. So that's all fine.
Okay, so we'll have an ebook. The ebook will have the citations in the text. We'll have a separate book, a print version or whatever, and all the citations will be at the end, not in the text. So the text is nice and easy for people to read as they're reading through. They don't see a bunch of citations as they're reading through the doc. Yeah.
Now, the cover of the book, currently, I'll tell you what it says. It says, by the Liberty Block, Calexit, and Yes, California.
Yeah.
Is that what you want?
Yeah, but it has to say Yes, California, not Yes, Cal. Yeah, Yes, California and Calexit. I'm cool with that. Maybe we could say Yes, California, Calexit campaign, if that's workable. The Yes, California, Calexit campaign. Lewis?
You have a question for me?
No, I'm just want to make sure I'm getting everything. So it's going to be Yes California Calexit campaign, and we are going to put all the citations at the end, and we are going to add a few more chapters in.
Yeah, sounds good. I think that you know, just as I was saying, our marketing name has in public and in the news has always been Yes California or Calexit campaign, and so any way that that's in the book is going to help both the author and the book succeed because it's going to have that name attached to it, but also help our campaign as well by having a book out there with our name on it. So we just want to have the consistency between how people know us in society and what's written in that book.
Yeah, I'm gonna put the cover right now into the Google Doc so everyone can see it and comment on the cover. With Canva, I can edit it very easily. So if you have any comments, if you have any input for the cover, just let me know and we can do whatever wording you guys like. That doesn't matter to me.
I'll pull up the Google Doc right now.
I'm gonna put it in there now.
By the way, everybody, if you are here in Congress, if you go to the private chat, I reposted it and I'll post it again. That's the Google Doc. You can go and comment and see everything we're talking about. That's full access for everybody. And let me show. So, Elliot, you're looking at the ebook, right?
Yeah, this is the ebook. I just put the picture in there.
Okay, here we go. I'm going to show everyone. Okay, so this is roughly what he's talking about. So this is the ebook, Progressive Solution. Here's Elliot. He's in there now. Here's a rough example of the cover. United States of Fascism, Progressives Not Welcome. And then the Yes logo and Liberty Block. Might get you a vector to put over there on the blue. Liberty Block, Yes California, and the Calexit campaign. So
is there any way that you can get 50 symbols of Red America and replace the stars with those 50 symbols, like the gun, the cross, the Trump head, 46 other symbols that represented Red America that might be
nice.
I don't know. I'm just
no, that's good.
It's a great idea.
I just don't know if you can find
maybe
50.
a little border wall around it with some razor wire.
Well, you'd have to come up with 50 things that represented a conservative. So you'd have the gun, the cross, the Trump thing. What else would you want to do there? It'd be difficult to do that, but it'll only work if you can get 50 of them. You know,
kind of like the flag with the corporate logos, huh?
Yeah, like that. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
They're all awesome ideas. Awesome.
Ooh, like all of the different military industrial complex entities like Tyco, which makes children's toys and tanks. Get all the different, get like Exxon logo up there, right? Although I don't know if we really could use other companies' logos, could we?
That's a good point.
If you do an icon search, there's a tons of icons you can grab online, and we could just, like Lewis is saying, we grab a long.
Wait a minute, though. Wait a minute, Jason. You could use the logo if you edit it to some extent, specifically to cause an outrage from that company, and then you get the publication media attention for that.
But I don't want to like go to prison for too long. So I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know if it's legal or not.
Yeah, so under the farce, under parody, you can take like the Chevron, oil company logo, and you can change it so that it invokes the thought and the imagery of the Chevron oil company, but it doesn't actually say Chevron, and it's not actually 100% their logo.
Yeah, got it. Thanks, brother.
All awesome ideas. Very good ideas. I like it.
And Elliot, if you go to yescalifornia.org, at the bottom of the page, we have our logo. So not on, I'll send it to you, but basically if you go to the bottom of our website, at the bottom it says Yes California. If you click on that, it gives you a nice clean vector graphic. So you could drop that in on the cover and you won't have that white behind the circle.
I'm on the site now. I can't find it.
I'll send it to you right now.
All right.
Elliot's here, guys. Any questions about the book? Questions for Elliot? Okay. Elliot, I'm putting in private chat a link to a Yes California website page. If you click on that link, Yes California, Calexit Congress now at work. And if you click on that, it'll take you to our website. If you go all the way to the bottom, it'll say Yes California. If you hover over that, click it. Here, I'll just show you. Okay, so here's just an average page. You go to Yes California on any of our pages right here at the bottom. And if you hit it, so you click, copy, that's a nice clean vector. There'll be no background coloring, and just this circle and everything pops right up on it. And if you want to clip it, you can crop it too. So that's a nice, easy way to add us in. Looks nice and crisp. Okay, comments? Instead of stars,
I'd like to.
15s. That's a good idea. I'm sorry. Someone was saying something?
Oh wow, you've been T-rolled. That is an amazing idea. Wow. Yeah, I was gonna ask Elliot, how do you like the edits? Is there anything in particular that you'd like to see more of or less of?
What do you mean specifically?
Well, I was going through and just like, checking things like grammar, syntax, punctuation, cleaning up run-on sentences and stuff. If you have noticed edits, does it all look good? Has anything like, is there any feedback you have for me about the editing?
I haven't noticed anything yet specifically. The only thing I would ask for is just grammar and spelling. If there's a massive spelling issue or grammar, if we could all work to fix that, I appreciate it. Other than that, I'm fine. I just want more people to review it other than me because I'll miss some, but it's just spelling and basic grammar. That's all.
All right, right on.
I had Jason look at it. I looked at it myself about 3 or 4 times. I had Jason look at it about 3 times, and I had another person look at it, and we will go over it 2 or 3 more times before the final version goes over.
Marcus?
Yeah.
I have to go. It's late here.
Okay.
So I want to say goodbye to everybody. Have a good Sunday. And I will see you maybe in a feature sometime. Good luck with your book and your NFT. Marcus, get some Chick-fil-A for me, and I will see you. I will see you all another time.
All right.
Sam, see you later. Bye-bye.
Much love, brother.
How do I, Jason, goodbye. I don't see your I don't see your video anywhere, but okay. Okay. Oh, there you are. Okay. Goodbye. Bye-bye.
Look at that trimmed beard. Looking good.
How do I turn it off though? I haven't used this before.
There's a button at the bottom that says leave.
Okay, okay. I got you. Okay. See you later. See you later.
Okay, so Elliot Axelman, any questions for Elliot about the book To Convince Liberals to Secede? We're going to put all the citations at the end. We've already worked on the how it gets credited. We got that worked out. People, I think Elliot really liked the cover. All they were zooming in on is just some icons for the stars. I think people love your cover and are saying, let's just put icons in the stars. Unless I'm misreading this, I think that's the cover for the book. Just we need to put some icons there.
Yeah, and I don't think we need 50. I don't see why. What I just did on Canva, and I could show you in a minute, is I just blanked out all the stars. So I just covered it with a blue rectangle, so there's no more stars. And instead of stars, we can have 1 or 5 or 10 different little icons.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't see a big issue with that necessarily.
Yeah, if you want to do
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
just strategically, analytically thinking, it does stand to reason that, you know, there probably aren't actually 50 whole big entities that are running things behind the scenes. And therefore, you know, we might not want to imply that, like, you know, all 50 states are actually represented by 50 different large corporations, right? It kind of points out that, you know, this is a very tight-knit secret club that, like, pretty much nobody stands a chance at being part of. And, you know, that's what runs America. This small little group of exclusive corporate entities or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So I agree that we don't necessarily need the 50.
Okay, any other questions, comments on the book? Elliot's here, can ask any questions, make any suggestions at all. Okay, Elliot, I'm going to finish editing the book, my final review today, and add those citations to missing graphics, and I will get you the poll numbers of Californians who supported secession and the undercount and the current amount of signatures. And I'll get that.
I got a question. Once the book's complete, can I interview you guys about it and help promote it?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. See, I told you, Elliot. I told you. The moment we get this thing, people are going to want to promote it. Tell them what you wanted. Tell them, Elliot. You were like, we got to have people.
We need marketing people to go out there and pimp it. So yeah, thank you. I'd be happy to come on your show and talk about
well, once it's completed, I will read it and we will do a good show promoting it.
Hell yeah, thank you.
Euban says, besides the AR-15, which everyone loved, he had AR-15s, and then he also said have the top 13 corporations symbols there, which is just a way of showing corporation. So Euban, nice comments, brother. Very cool. You're getting that directly from.
You know what else you could throw in there that's not copyrighted are all the symbols of the federal government agencies. That's
There are
all
400
public.
though. That's the problem.
The what?
There are too many. There are 400, but yeah, it's a good idea.
You could pick your top 50 federal government agencies, and those are public use, so there'll be no problem with the copyright on that.
That's an awesome idea. Like DEA, CBP, ICE, all the things that'll piss people off.
Federal Reserve,
Another
all
good
your
one
alphabet
to use
agencies,
to
go down the list, and that's all public, and our tax money paid for it.
Another good agency to think about to scare the left-wing folks is the recently established Office of the Former President of the United States, established by Donald Trump, which is a very clear, like, you know, power grab type thing, which is why such a thing never existed before.
But I think that's private. And there probably will be a copyright issue. I'm talking about public agencies.
No, that's a government.
Copyright.
It's a government agency. It's a government office. Yeah.
I don't think it is.
That's not a big deal either way. I'm going to grab some good symbols for the agencies and some other stuff. If we don't have 50, if we have 20, that's fine too. So we'll be good.
I just, like you said, am concerned about the copyright. You don't want to get in trouble. You don't want to get sued over it.
Yep. I always grab stuff that are public domain or stuff that I have myself or stuff on Canva that I paid for as far as royalty stuff. So I think we're fine with that.
I love this team. I really do. I mean, look at today's meeting. We had some really intelligent debates and coverage on top issues about sovereignty in the future and what California is going to do and if we need to be independent and how America's failing. And then we went right into super detailed discussions on super high level publicity projects where people were debating and coming back and forth. I mean, I know it seems like nothing, but I had envisioned this, and until you actually get there, you never know if it's going to work. The last couple meetings, I was sure that the Calexit Congress was going to work as both a place for Californians to come and discuss what if we have to leave, but then also a place for publicity projects for Calexit enthusiasts to come. And dude, today, everything about today, even when I was getting called out, even when we were going back and forth, perfect. I don't want to call. Many of you know me. I love it when you guys call me out, and I don't like a whole yes men thing. We were really pushing back and forth with each other. That's a real debate by real Californians about future issues. And these publicity projects are top of the line. And most of the criticism of the publicity projects was making sure that they came out good enough. This is, as Jason says, winning. I'm really impressed with this team of people, and I'm really impressed with y'all. Very impressed. I know it was a long meeting, but wow, this is one of the most productive meetings I've been to, and just really a pleasure to be here. We should have been doing this 2 years ago. Okay, last minute comments before we wrap it up. Any comments from anyone? Elliot, you have any comments?
Yes, I do have more
like
complaints. I mean, comments.
Oh, sorry.
Jason, we'll go to you in a second. Elliot, last minute comments, brother.
As soon as we publish this, which will be very soon because Marcus and I are both psychos with 0 patience and we're impatient psycho ADD people. As soon as we publish it, can everyone in the Calexit Congress, which is now like 435 billion members, can everyone please like go to Amazon and at least review the book, if not buy it? Because if we can get 435 billion people to review it, then it can be seen by everyone on Amazon and we can get billions of sales and then we can all win. So reviews are super important. The more reviews, the more it's seen. So as soon as Marcus lets you know that it's published, I'd appreciate if you guys and all your friends and family review the book, and then I'll love you guys.
That's perfect. Review the book when it's published, okay, everybody? We're going to go to Amazon, and we're going to try to get this out this month. And then the reason I said that to Elliot was that I was like, I have some resources on deck this month, and we can really push this for publicity. So when the book comes out, we're pushing it. And I would ask everybody to please go online and order a copy of the book and or comment about it. And Jason.
Yeah, on a separate but similar note, Darren Brown's podcast, California Dreamin', has been interviewing folks. I just yesterday gave an interview of comparable length to this meeting that we've been on here, and a lot of the points that are discussed in the book as well as the online courses, we actually went over a lot of that, and I've got to say, Darren is an amazing interviewer. He's got a natural ability where he kept that topic on topic, he kept it flowing, he moved it very coherently from one issue to the next. There were no gotcha questions, right? Not that I thought there would be, but, you know, just so everyone knows, like, if you are the type of person in the Calexit movement who would like to give interviews and you want to speak your mind on these issues, I highly, highly encourage, get in contact with Darren Brown, get an interview set up for the California Dreamin' podcast. And also, this one that I gave yesterday should be up within the week. So, also, as Elliot was saying there, once it's up there, please give it a listen, a like, a view, a comment, share it around. That way it gets even more circulation. Because, teamwork makes the dream work, and that is what #winning really looks like.
We have the email for you, california.dreamin', not ing.podcast. That's california.dreamin.podcast@gmail.com. That's california.dreamin.podcast@gmail.com. You can see the California Dreaming podcast by Professor Brown at this email here, just as described. Okay. Thank you, Euban. You're right. We should break free. Okay, last minute comments from anyone? Okay, then we're going to go and close out the show. I want to say thank you to everybody for being here. That was awesome. Thank you to Adam KOKESH for talking about the Gardenia Sovereignty Project. Thank you to SAM CHANEY for talking about how the federal government does not insulate us from technology censorship, which is a failure of their duties. Thank you for NICKOLAS WILDSTAR talking about America has not improved on racial relations. Thank you, Robert Stark, for talking about how we in California, even if we're not leaving America, can have more nationalist policies for Californians. Also want to thank Elliot Axelman, the Liberty Bloc, working with us on a book for how to terrify liberals into supporting secession. I want to thank Louis Marinelli and Jason Wright and many others for helping with the online courses in the laws around California leaving, coming forward to you. And I want to thank Adam KOKESH for endorsing that. And I want to thank Dewank Mahajan in India, a Calexit Congress member, because he's a Californian, for helping us create an altcoin of the Yes California logo. And I want to thank Louis Marinelli and Jason Wright for helping to draft some of the resolutions in the final form. After the Calexit Congress decided to sign them, we post them up in a polished version. Thank you all for being here. Please contact me at marcus.ruiz.evans. Let me put that up real quick. Sorry. Because every time I do this, we get new members. So email me at marcus.ruiz.evans@gmail.com. That's marcus.ruiz. Join the Calexit Congress. If you're a Californian, if you love California, email me. You just saw Carlos. We brought him on. He said, hey, I'm a Californian, and I'm worried about the future of America. It seems unstable. Great. This is a place for you. Come on over, brother. Marcus Ruiz Evans, join us. And that's it for today. And we will see you next Sunday, every Sunday, live at the Calexit Congress, where you determine what the entire movement of 1/3 of California should be doing. Thank you for being here.